Welcome, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
So, shall we start, sir? Everyone is ready? Yes, okay. Recording ஆரம்பிக்க சொல்லுங்க.
Recording in progress.
Distinguished Chief Guest, Mr. Ashish Khaneja, Operating Partner at Mac 49 Asia, Singapore. Moderator, Dr. Francis Jose, former Head, Department of Commerce, Loyola College. Panel members, Mr. Paul Nathan, Director and Board Member, Toronto Chapter, Real Estate Institute of Canada. Mr. Dinesh Menon, Vice President, Commercial, Barakat Group of Companies, UAE. Mr. Israel Inbaraj, General Manager, HR, TCS Chennai. Mr. Vijay Kapoor, Founder and MD, Derby Menswear India. Mr. Masi, Convener, Loyola Alumni International. Participants and my dear colleagues. Good morning and a warm welcome to all. Today, we are in the second day of the conference. I am immensely happy and proud to say that the viewership of our conference in the YouTube has crossed 2000 plus for day one, which is an overwhelming response and adding value and acceptance to our conference. It is even more happy to find that all the visitors have liked our conference and has shared encouraging remarks. We are confident that today also we will meet the expectation of our participants and the visitors, if not exceed them. I'm sure that all of you are enthusiastically waiting to join today's session. Let me not keep you waiting. I invite Professor Reena to lead the session. Thank you and have a great time.
Thank you, Lima ma'am. Every day is a good day. There is something to learn, care, and celebrate. A very good morning to one and all present here. We are delighted to welcome our moderator and the panel members and other esteemed persons in the call to the today's session. I'm pretty sure our participants and students will have an enriching and informative session today. Now I call upon Dr. Jerushal Iron Chitra, Assistant Professor, Department of BCom Honors, to introduce our moderator and the panelists to the audience.
Good day and welcome to one and all to the Day 2 Panel Discussion 3 of the Virtual International Conference on Innovation Business Practices of E-Commerce in Contemporary World 4.0. Our moderator for the day is Dr. Francis Jose, former Head, Department of Commerce, Loyola College, Chennai. Dr. Francis Jose equips with him 35 long years of teaching and rich research experience in the Department of Commerce. He has held various key positions in Loyola, like being the Dean of Arts, President of the Teaching Staff Association, College Governing Council, Treasurer, Alumni Association, and much more. Dr. Jose has a very keen interest in Siddha and homeopathy. We extend a very cordial welcome to you, sir. Moving on to the panelists, our first panelist of the day is Mr. Paul Nathan, Director and Board Member, Toronto Chapter, Real Estate Institute of Canada, REIC. Mr. Paul Nathan is an internationally experienced mixed-use, multi-asset class management subject matter expert with over 25 years of experience. He's a member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Survivors, FRICS, RICS UK. He has achieved CPM and various other certifications in real estate management. Notably, he has received consecutive awards during the year 2019 and 2020 from REIC. And much more importantly, Mr. Paul Nader is a Loyola alumni and is a part of the Loyola Executive Committee focusing on community service and is joining us today all the way from Canada. Admirable welcome, sir. Moving on. Our second panelist for the day is Mr. Dinesh K. Menon, Vice President, Commercial Bank, Barak Group of Companies, UAE. He's a dynamic senior commercial executive with 33 years of diverse experience working with leading consumer and distribution companies across the Middle East and Asia. He holds a solid track record of sales turnover by re-engineering sales and distribution processes and optimizing team performance. And more notably, he graduated in BSc Chemistry from Loyola College, and thus he is an alumni of our institution and is joining us all the way from UAE. A warm, hearty welcome, sir. Our third panelist, Mr. Israel Inbaraj, General Manager, HR TCS Chennai, India. He holds 25 years of experience in the field of HR in various MNCs like Caterpillar India, GE India, APC India, and Aditya Birla. Mr. Israel Inbaraj has attended various certifications in areas like Predictive Index, Recruitment Analysis, and Six Sigma. He has trained and certified 400 HR professionals on employability laws. He now acts as a resource person for HRM to management institutes in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, along with employment and career counseling for students. Much importantly, he graduated in MSW from Loyola in 1996. A gladsome welcome, sir. Last but not the least, our final panelist for the day is Mr. Vijay Kapoor, founder and MD, Derby Menswear India. He is a first-generation entrepreneur who founded the men's fashion brand Derby Menswear in 1994 at the age of 23. He dreams of creating 1,000 successful first-generation entrepreneurs by 31st March 2025 through his Derby brand. There is a circulation of a book which goes by name The Horseshoe Man, which a bibliography book about him rightly termed and authored by his wife. To bring to your kind notice, he is a proud alumnus of our prestigious institution. A gentle welcome to you, sir. Now I hand over the session to Dr. Francis Jose, the moderator. Over to you, sir.
So you have to unmute, sir.
Yeah, is that okay now?
Fine, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's certainly an honor to be part of this panel. And before I come to the theme of the day, I pay my respects to the Reverend Fathers of Loyola, especially Father Principal, Father Thomas, and of course the head of the BCom Honors. We have Dr. Augustine, Dr. Daniel Augustus, and of course my dear Marcy, who seems to be there in lots of vital things happening in Loyola. So congrats to you, Marcy, and thanks for helping out always. And of course, Dr. Lima, Professor Reena, Dr. Jerusha from the BCom department, Dr. Minothi. It's because of all of you that we are here today. And today's panel is such a kind of the word I use is the flowering panel for the day, and also for the 2 days. Very, very reputed members. You know, if you look into the backgrounds of each one of the panelists, I personally realized that the collective experience there is going to augur well for this theme, for the conference theme. And when we talk about digitization, if it was before the pandemic, people may have been skeptics even today. But I guess the sense of hope which is there in man, and this is what I observe here and there, and among the populations in the world, we see that the pandemic brought in fear. It still brings in fear. But then I guess we continue, and that's because of hope. Hope is an enlivening thing, and it certainly applies in business and in all the functions of business, be it marketing, production, human resources management, managing our profits, managing our life. And I guess we have Mr. Vijay, the entrepreneur member in this panel, who would vouch for from his own personal background of the challenges we face, and pandemic is just one of the challenges, and I guess we all overcome this challenge by hope. Now, when we convert hope into translatable language, into action language, and in the business language, I guess we see these are some initial remarks I would share about the theme itself of the conference, and then I would invite each member in the panel to the dynamics. I will just reserve it for the moment. I will share it just before we start the session. So if you permit me about 10 minutes, I would love to summarize a few more thoughts on the theme. And I guess my only role here is to facilitate the panelists to come out with their best. And so I'll give my initial thoughts on it, but I guess the meat and muscle of the day will come from the panelists. And I totally respect that. The kind of background the panelists have and representing different sections of major parts of the industry and being worldwide here. Mr. Paul, for example, is hi there, Paul. I'm sure you remember the days in Loyola when you were there. I certainly remember you for your methodicity and the connections I've had with you here and there. I realized that you have been growing from strength to strength. And I think that's a very heartwarming thing for certainly me and many of my members in the profession, as well as to the industry. The kind of path-breaking work you seem to have done in the real estate kind of businesses is great. Now, I just got a small message. How long do we have? It's 9:15 now. I guess the dynamics of the day is that each speaker gets 20 minutes, 15 to 18 minutes of presentation, and maybe a few minutes to sum up. And then I'll be sharing with you a couple of questions which may come from the audience and also my personal level. We'll keep those questions to about question answers time to about 5 minutes. And I guess by that time, 11 o'clock is there. I look forward to your presentations. And may I very briefly comment one or two things about the other panelists. Mr. Dinesh, for example, is Mr. Menon. Welcome. You are 1.5 hours behind India, and we know that you may have got up a bit more earlier than usual. So thank you for that. And I guess Barakat, the company you work for, and I saw some details about Barakat, very inspiring, and you have a fascinating website. Your experience will be very vital to be shared in this panel. So welcome. And Mr. Inbaraj, Mr. Israel, fascinating to note that you are in charge of nearly 1 lakh people of the TCS in Chennai, out of the thousands of other employees in India. And Chennai is the biggest kind of service unit you have of TCS in Chennai. And being the GM of the human resources there, I guess you are like a kind of a father to all of them. And I'm sure you're doing all the things which make them comfortable. And I think that's seen in data records. Your attrition rate is one of the lowest, certainly much lower than your other big brand, Infosys. They have 25%, and for you, I heard it was 15. I stand to be corrected. I guess it's a proof of how you manage your HR, and that's why you retain your people. I'm sure you have some good thoughts on how to manage people, definitely in the COVID times. And the entrepreneur of the day, I just take 1 minute more. Mr. Vijay Kapoor, welcome. And it's inspiring always to have an entrepreneur in a panel like this. And you give the fillers to almost everything. You bear your breast literally, and take up the challenges of the world and everything, finance and people and managing time and everything, your products, and you are on an overdrive always. At the same time, I guess you're the people who make the world move. So hats off to you for the kind of work you are doing and you propose to do in future. We certainly look forward to listening to all of you. Dynamics wise, just to remind each one of you that you can take 20 minutes. If it might get too long, I might send you a message. Otherwise, I will leave it to you to end the session on time. And I wish you all the very best and Godspeed. So it's over to the first speaker of the day, Mr. Paul Nader. Welcome, Paul. Paul?
Could you please tell me whether the video and audio is good to go?
Fine, sir.
Paul, yes,
Thank
we
you.
can hear you well.
Yes.
And the video as well, the screen as well.
The screen also, yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The case today is digital transformation in retail industry. Who is the winner? This is based on the successful experiment that I have executed while managing a luxury brand shopping mall. There are 3 stakeholders in a retail shopping center: the owner of the mall, the lessor, the owner of the shop, the lessee, and the customer. It is important to connect all 3 stakeholders for a win-win situation. This is a challenge for shopping mall managers. For any shopping center, the rent for the shops could be charged on a sales percentage or on fixed rent. In the case of sales percentage rent, one will know the individual shop sale and the overall mall turnover. On the contrary, in the case of fixed rent, the shop owners are not obligated to provide any sales details to the shopping mall owners. Being a luxury brand lifestyle mall, where each piece is priced in lakhs, the shop owners wish to maintain the confidentiality of their turnover. Unfortunately, the mall that I managed were on fixed rent leases, and therefore I was not able to obtain the individual shop sale, thus the overall turnover of the shopping mall as well. Though we tried many times, customers were not responsive in the traditional survey and promotional activities. There was no digital-based data procurement system was available to determine the overall turnover, the sales, the identifying the target customers, purchasing habits, customer preference, etc. I faced a huge challenge in identifying the right market segmentation and was not able to develop an efficient marketing plan. To find a solution, I have discussed the issue with my associates and my outsourcing marketing team. The following options were brought on to the table. A. Approach the tenants to provide the required details voluntarily. B. Change the lease's sales percentage charge over fixed rent. C. Explore adopting IT-based system which will enable us to get these data. When approached, the tenants were not prepared to provide sales and related details. So we were not successful with the option 1. Changing the running leases were time consuming and had come with legal implications. So option 2 again failed. Therefore, given the constraints and the limitations, we have decided to adopt a digital system. Therefore, we have invited an IT consulting firm to explore the opportunities to achieve the desired results. As our mall had regular promotional events, we have decided to use those promotional events which were conducted in a conventional system to a software-equipped database system. The customer relationship management, which is CRM. When entering the promotional draw, every customer must provide their details, including their age, their nationality, their gender, their occupation, and income level, which would allow us to develop the segmentation. Secondly, there will be a digital questionnaire which will also provide details for us to ascertain the tenant mix, branding, marketing, budgeting, and global reach. These details could be filled within minutes with their mobiles and could be submitted to enter into the draw. The software to be developed in a sophisticated way would be able to interpret, analyze, and provide data to determine the marketing plan. The software customer relationship management was developed, taking into account of all the above. We have well timed to introduce the customer relationship management software on our Christmas grand promotion. Own an apartment by shopping at our esteemed mall. This was the first ever time winning an apartment was announced, and therefore there was an overwhelming response to officially enter into the draw. At the end of the promotion, based on the data we have procured, we found that an overall turnover was close to 7 million within the promotional time of 2 months, which was generally perceived at about 3 million with the traditional conventional method. The unique outcome of the CRM was finding the target audience. I would like to give with the real-time experience of how we have been able to ascertain the target audience. We were always under the assumption that the neighbors, Saudi nationals, are the ones who does maximum high-value purchases. But the data that we received during this promotion revealed that it is the local nationals who was topping above Saudi nationals. The another surprise was no one has thought about it was the Indian nationals ranked in the order which was never revealed in the traditional survey and promotional system. This has really opened our eyes. So we started to rethink and develop the marketing plan based on our target customers. Secondly, we were also able to find the real sale of every individual shop. This data allowed us to determine which type of products to be encouraged, which type of brands should be given opportunities to grow or expand within our shopping center based on the purchasing habit of the customers, in turn executing flip hotels the right tenant mix. For example, the world-known retail brand LV has done so well during the promotion. So we encourage them to add the kids section, which was the customer requirement based on the CRM questionnaire. So here we can very well see there are multiple opportunities of learning the real thing based on the facts on the target audience, the tenant mix, and revitalizing the brand. Finally, the CRM allowed us to interpret the data over the period in understanding the trend, the shopping habits, brand loyalty, etc., which further enhanced our marketing strategies and greatly assisted in preparing an efficient marketing plan. I would say here that the tenants, the shop owners were so much so thrilled that we are getting in the right track. We did not stop there. We have introduced promotional events and brand new marketing tools based on CRM findings, such as a priceless gift on a priceless day. This is to attract new customers' participation in our luxury shopping mall who always felt that is not my cup of tea. Secondly, we have first ever time brought in a Diwali event of musical extravaganza to attract high-profile Indian audience to drive in new customers. On top of it, we have upgraded the website. We have upgraded and aggressively involved in Instagram activities and introduced a very high-profile marketing video. And all these media-related activities were being developed and executed based on the information that we were being able to derive from the data, which very clearly indicated the target audience, the target customers, the brands. But not least, we have also promoted corporate social responsibility activities within our marketing plan. It is not just sales, it is not just profit, but beyond sales, beyond profit. What is our commitment to the society? Okay. Our question was, who is the winner? Is it the mall owner? Is it the shop owner, the tenant, or the customer? In my opinion, all are equally benefited with an efficient marketing plan. End of the day, the mall owner requires these data to be better serve the customers and create a well-aligned tenant mix in a place where one could enjoy the shopping experience. The lesson learned by implementing customer relationship software was, don't work on assumptions. Let us work on facts. And the facts come from reality when you are prepared to adopt digital tools, which will provide all the data and the information that you require within no time. Furthermore, you could add additional data requirements within the established software, which will in turn increase more data interpretations and analysis, which will lead you to achieve enhanced and increased results. I want to conclude by saying, to sustain and to be successful, one should accept and adopt digital transformation. I wish to thank the organizing committee, the international convener Mazi, Reverend Father Principal and Alumni Director, our beloved marketing professor Francis Jose, our batchmate Dr. Maladi Principal, and the Real Estate Institute of Canada Toronto chapter for this opportunity. Thank you, one and all. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you, Paul. That was quite enlightening what you shared, and very, very, very interesting to hear you talk about initially the kind of challenges you faced and how you overcame them. At the same time, you felt excited by the new responses from the data. I guess the whole world is there to be discovered. It's there underneath. And when we discover it, we realize, oh my God, I thought it was different, and now it is real. And I think that surprise element, which you highlighted beautifully in what you said, through digitization, you got something which you would never have known from the mall owners, and new market segments, unseen market segments are seen, and so on. I guess it was a fascinating story. If you permit me, Mr. Paul, if I may ask you, in the current context, in India, in fact, I stay in a place called Amanjikarai, and there is a place called Skywalk. It's just at the end of Nelson Manikam Road from Loyola. Now, Skywalk, not many people are there in the malls nowadays. I don't know how it is there in Canada now, but I guess this pandemic has changed the world, and it has intervened into business models. Now, what's your, I guess it is not clear. So I got a message saying that it is muted. I hope it is okay. You can hear
Yes,
me,
sir.
Mr.
It's
Paul?
okay, sir. It's okay, sir. Okay,
I'm able to hear, Professor.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm listening to you.
Yes. Thank you, Arul. What's your take on how the retail space, which gets stressed due to such scenarios like the pandemic, and I'm sure this is not the last one. What do you think business units and retailers should really focus on in the context of digitization, which you mentioned?
It's a fantastic question, and I would rather say even before pandemic, once online shopping has started, we started to feel the pinch. But I would say a typical example from Canada. We have a huge departmental store called Costco. The audience can go and see. Costco, they have a system. They have a system where they hardly sell 7,000 plus products compared to Walmart, which sells 50,000 products. But then what they do is they create a kind of excitement in the form of treasure hunt. They don't keep the same items in the same location, and they really, allow the customers to come and have a surprise. What you see this week, you don't see next week. And you will go with a lot of lottery kind of shopping where you can buy for 2-3 months that could last long. So instead of having a traditional shopping model, they changed it. And I also wish to give you another example from the world top 5 malls from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they have created entertainment and family entertainment of 60,000 square foot. You have a mini golf within the shopping mall. So you can imagine that you just don't go and do shopping. It is an experience. And when I go to Saudi, where people come from 100 to 100 to 200 kilometers, they come in the morning, they leave in the evening. You have all the children entertainment, you have the cinema theater, you have what kind of food, international cousins you can enjoy. So it is like a one-day picnic. So the time has come, it is not going to be shutters. It is a time that everyone needs to change into experience. And this is what will lead to success. If Skywalk need to be successful, then they need to come out. And, although it is a different product, but just to give an example of Nokia, they were being overwhelmingly enjoying their sale and reputation, and one fine morning, they vanished. So unless you adopt to change, adopt to experience, you will be gone. Thank you, Professor.
Lovely response, Mr. Paul. And I suppose you are reinstating something which we mentioned, that hope part. We are in the survival business when we do business. If we need to make profit, we are doing a service for our shareholders. And I guess we have to do everything to survive, and not just do that, but to do very well. And I think shopping and experiences building, which you highlighted, I think is the icing on the cake. I think you did very well by saying that. And I'm sure the businesses you get connected to will be more successful with your experiences, Mr. Paul. And if I may ask you, we just have 1 minute more, and I think you have timed your presentation wonderfully too. If I may ask you, you're a multi-asset class man. Would you care to comment on what is that multi-asset class which you have in your forte? It's a personal question. I'm sure it has implications on the topic also.
Okay, that's a very valid question, because every time when I get into senior level discussions, they always raise this question: what is multi-asset class? Like, it is like a portfolio management when it comes into finance. When it comes to multi-asset class management, I had in my previous employment, I managed the residential tenancies. I managed high-level office space. I managed the luxury and different kinds of shopping malls. And also I managed the 5-star hotel. And also I had a small piece of industrial. So when it comes to multi-asset class, that means you have the quality and capability and the caliber to wear different hats from morning 8 o'clock to evening 6 o'clock. So I used to conduct meetings. I used to conduct meetings with the retail people on marketing at 9 o'clock. And then after an hour, I will conduct a residential management, property management meeting about the arrears or tenants' outstanding problem. And after an hour, I move into a Ernst & Young or a Deloitte lease that I need to deal. And finally, I will be speaking to an Italian to finalize a Gochi lease. So I need to wear different hats and different departments. And once you used to that, then you give a go. So that really gives a lot of energy for you, because you are not monotonous and fatigued. So you keep from one asset to the other asset, but it's a portfolio and different departments. And, it's a high energy activity. And this is where the world is now moving, especially North America, which used to have only one type of asset. Now they started to think about mixed use, mixed asset portfolio, and that is where the world is moving, and the experience part that I discussed with you, Professor, in the past. Thank you very much for this question.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul, for your time as well as your very insightful sharing and your wonderful answers to those two simple queries. And I'm sure, when we go further with this discussion, the holistic impact of all our contributions is certainly going to make a big difference to the digitization moves of the future. I'm sure it will get into the annals of digitization experiences somewhere, what we are sharing today. Thank you very much, Paul, for your very insightful sharing. And
I'm more than honored.
with your permission, may I? Yeah, the same
I'm
honor
more
to
than
me too.
honored.
Yes,
Thank
yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And if I may invite Dinesh, you don't mind me calling you by first person, Dinesh Menon, if you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you just
welcome,
confirm,
Mr. Dinesh.
Morning.
Yeah,
Can you see the screen?
Can hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you see the screen?
I can. Yeah, the post-pandemic impact of digital marketing.
Yes.
It's over to you, and I'll reserve a few comments on your specific company you come from after your discussion. Your time starts now. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Morning and
yes, sir.
Greetings from Dubai. Yeah, Dr. Principal.
Good morning to you too.
Yeah. Principal Dr. Thomas, members of the organizing committee, Dr. Lima, Dr. Minoti, Dr. Chitra, Dr. Reena, our moderator today, Dr. Francis Jose, Mr. Masi, my fellow panelists and students. It is an honor and a privilege to be invited to participate in this discussion, and more so since Loyola, I think for a large member of our panelists, is our alma mater. I graduated 36 years ago, but it seems like only yesterday or the day before. I also have some awesome memories and a good time at the institution. Okay, in terms of the presentation flow, what I will attempt to cover is basically four major points. I'm not sure, I presume some of these may or may not have been covered in the panelists yesterday, but I think it's essential to briefly touch upon it. One is the impact of COVID on our behavior and lifestyle, and in terms of how it's fundamentally changed. How was digital marketing viewed before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and now? And I have a case study, which is a live case study and a short video, a 45 second clip, assuming the internet is good and it allows me to play the video, and some crystal ball gazing into the future, into 2030. What would things be? I mean, this is just a guess, or in terms of what could the future be from a digital marketing perspective. So the first slide is on the, if you look, I just pulled out a chart from Google Trends, okay, to basically look at the pandemic situation before and after the pandemic. And we just pulled out a couple of keywords, like vaccine, COVID, lockdown, mask, and even death. Now, before January 2020, I mean, most of these, barring the word death, had little or no relevance. But you see that it's changed completely. It's led to a completely different world. There's concern, there's fear, there's anxiety, and possibly the fear of the unknown is accentuated. Closer home in India, it's possibly similar, but I think it's led to possibly a lot of people have been adversely impacted in some way or the other in a very short period. So what has all this led to? What has all this led to? It has led to a lot of changes. And I'll briefly talk about, I think, 4 or 5 meaningful or impactful changes. The first, I think, shift is the focus on health. When we say health, I'm talking about both physical health as well as, more importantly, mental health. Mental health was always viewed, especially in the Asian subcontinent, as taboo. People were very averse to talking about it. That's no longer the case. I was in the UK about a month ago, and I was traveling in the tube. You have a lot of advertisements in the tube titled saying, "It's okay not to be okay. And please reach out if you have issues on mental health." So you have the entire government mechanism, you have the entire bodies, local bodies, authorities viewing mental health. Physical health in terms of the lifestyle we lead, the importance on health of bringing about work-life balance, I think we all agree, has increased in terms of focus, in terms of the way we work. So this is the first, I think, change which has come about. The second is an increasing love for or an affinity for local. So local neighborhoods, the sense of community has become more valuable. They want support. Staying local means shopping local. It's as simple as that. And I'd just like to give an example of the UAE, and more so because Barakat as an organization, we are basically in the fruits and vegetables business. Now, most parts of the Middle East, as all of you are aware, don't grow much, okay, don't produce much because of the climatic conditions. It's desert. Okay. So most of the Middle East countries, whether you look at UAE, Oman, Saudi, have taken it as a national priority to start some form of cultivation of fruits or vegetables. And the respective governments have spent a lot of money. Because they want to achieve some degree of self-sustenance over the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So this is a national priority, especially in the UAE. So we are working now with the government to increase. So, 90% of our business comes from imports. We do hardly only 10% is from local produce. So we are working with the government to see what we can do to increase this local produce, to take it up to 20%, 30%, support them. And this will eventually get translated also to the end consumer. They will start looking for local produce, shopping for local produce. So it starts off as a national priority, becomes an organizational priority, and at the end, it's a consumer need that we ultimately have to fulfill. On digital, I think it's pretty simple. Self-explanatory. There's a huge surge in digital, and I think the rates of digital adoption, especially during the pandemic, are years ahead of what they would have been had it not been for the pandemic. That's a fact. It's it's a fact which cannot be disputed. And these have seen quantum leaps, both in the organizations as well as the industry, and of course, in the end consumer. As the caption says, consumers now pay, shop, learn, watch, connect, even pray online. The fourth part is the hygiene part. Okay. We all know that if one addresses the hygiene quotient in terms of being extremely conscious of it, then that's the first barrier to preventing the onset of or getting infected or being impacted by COVID. And so all the industries which have been born out of the COVID, whether it is the masks, the sanitizers, gloves, all of them have really flourished. And today there's a bandwagon. So if you look at the price of masks when COVID first came to what it is today, big difference, fallen significantly. Why? Because more players, more production, prices have become affordable. Likewise for gloves, and so on and so forth. So what we believe is that most FMCG categories, we cannot escape the hygiene filter in this post-pandemic era. That's clearly another issue which is on its, I mean, hygiene quotient is today a table stake. Now, work from home is here to stay, whether it is work from home fully, whether it is work from home partially, whether it is a hybrid situation, whether you do week in, week 1 week in, 1 week from home, this is here to stay. So people have got used to working from home. And one of the biggest casualties of this from a corporate perspective is the travel budgets for executives like us. Okay. So for a year, 2 years, there was no travel virtually, but the business did not stop. So what, when we, do our budgets this year, they're saying, why do you want a budget? Why do you want a travel budget? All those are being questioned. So they're saying that you managed the business last year significantly by sitting in the office or sitting at home. So what's the need to travel? Even from work from home, even from, the home space, there are other issues in terms of if you have both husband and wife working from home, then there is obviously a space issue, right? You have 2 video calls, 2 Zoom calls, and the challenges associated with that. There is infringement on space, schooling is also happening from home. So this is completely, the dynamics of this has got changed severely. Kitchen debut, where people like it or not, especially when online, in the initial phases, when people were struggling to get material online and to get them delivered, it's obviously reached a completely different ball game now. Everything is available at a click and within 30 minutes, 1 hour. But this has created a new segment, a new category, especially for kitchen appliances, healthy recipes, people who are getting into, people like me, who've ventured into the kitchen for the first time, not because we love doing it, but because we had no choice. And there's a lot happening in terms of on social media, in terms of helping to stimulate this interest and to fan the flames of this kitchen debut. So a lot of brands need to be conscious of this and do the targeting and segmenting in a manner which is very relevant to stay focused and be relevant to this consumer. So what I want to now talk about is the digital marketing scenario before and now, and how have consumers responded? Okay. So when I put up a few points, what it will do in terms of the shape of the deck or the presentation is we'll look at conventional thinking, okay, and it will look at the new way of thinking post the pandemic from a digital marketing perspective. So what we're saying is that, earlier, the consumer always was the focus, okay. That's not changed. So what we're saying is it's not important that consumers have to be a part of the strategy. Today, they are the strategy. They are part of the journey. So what's important is the journey is as important as, putting the emphasis on customer centricity, so on and so forth. Traditionally, if you look at online and if you look at digital, before the pandemic, if you had a good website, a fairly decent website, that was enough. You could manage. That's not the case anymore. There are many other parameters which come into play, and some of these have been listed here in terms of the domain, the analytics in terms of the data. Okay, how do you manage the data, and how do you glean from the data? How do you take out insights from the data and then act on it and make it relevant to the consumer without offending the consumer? There's of course the security issue, the link building. You don't want to get into a customer journey and find that the link has broken, or there's been a disruption in where the customer wants to land. The experience, which is again an integral part of the journey, Of course, the matter of data protection, privacy, and results. Okay. So if you look at the traditional, we were always taught in business school and maybe even in commerce, you had the classical decision-making process of, you start by how do you get consumers hooked onto your brand? How do you draw them to your brand? So you said the core values of that have not changed, which was, you do awareness, interest, decision, and then action. Those have got further, I would say, reinforced, and it's become a bigger tree in terms of the steps which have been outlined right at the bottom. You do research to generate an awareness, and you have to build interest. Then the brand has to be in your consideration set. You have to generate some kind of an intent to buy. When you generate an intent to buy, the consumer does some evaluation, okay, before they make a purchase. There could be a flip side where they go through a re-evaluation process. There are issues of trust and loyalty come into play before the final decision is there. The tree has become a little elongated, but the core has remains the same. The second thing is that what we want to say is that the customers no longer hope you have what they want. They expect or they demand you have exactly what they want. And if you don't have that, they obviously move elsewhere without batting an eyelid. I think never has been the attention span of the consumer been so limited. Okay, you talk about elevator pitches, right? In terms of trying to be focused and trying to be an elevator pitch will take at least 5 seconds or 10 seconds. The consumer today has no more than 2 seconds. So whatever we want to do has to be extremely targeted, laser focused. What they want in a nutshell is the right product, right place, right time, online with convenience. This is in essence of what it is. And I think the watch out here is the personalized, the data personalization and all the privacy issues which come into play. We don't want the customer to turn around and say, "Oh, now where did you get that piece of information from?" So it's a fine line, but that has to be managed. The next point is on the stack. The right stack to drive. So today what we say is earlier you had the right stack, but today you also need to have the balance of factors to drive the stack. So there's a lot of data today. So the essence of this slide, what I want to highlight is the ability to glean insights from data, to cut through mounds of data, to glean insights from that data, have some commercial acumen, and then ensure that the customer buys what he or she is looking for and what you want to sell to the customer. It's easy in this process to get swayed by there's a lot of vanity metrics, okay, like which don't help, which actually distract and which take away from the focus. Examples of these are, cost per impression, some of these. So there are metrics like these, which I think what you got to understand, or what as conventional or in the current day and age, we need to be clear is on what do we do, what do we want to do, which will have a financial impact in terms of a purchase, in terms of a behavior, which will drive at the end of the day profitability, while making the consumer go through that journey. The traditional mindset on relationships is that earlier relations was matter. Now what we're saying is that's not important. Relationships have to be everything. If you look at most organizations, and I'm sure my fellow panelists will bear me out, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the concept of a relationship manager did not exist. There was no relationship manager. Today, across several industries, banks, hotels, construction, there is a relationship manager. There's somebody to hold your hand. You go to a hotel, you check into a room. After an hour, somebody will call you up and say, "Are you okay? Are you comfortable? There's something you want to do. What else can you do?" And then they start tracking whatever you do, which channels you watch, what have you ordered, and that goes into a data bank. And then they use that as data to understand what kind of preferences you have. So there's a lot of qualitative and quantitative insights which are available, which I think need to be mined in a very sensible manner. And you need to leverage social commerce. Most important are the media platforms to close out sales and to further build and take the entire aspect of relationships to a completely different level. What you're saying now is on this point is on the brand persona. I mean, what are you trying to project in terms of a brand? So earlier, the traditional thinking was that your brand stood for certain great products. It stood for certain things. Today, what we're saying is the over and above that, there has to be, consciously or unconsciously, values of the brand which have to be created, which have to be delivered. And I think the passage of time does not diminish the importance of those values. The values of, some of the core values on which a lot of us, I think most of us, or 100% of us were brought up on the core values, those have not changed. The values of honesty, being straightforward, doing due diligence, all that has not changed. They have not changed one bit. In fact, they've only got reinforced over a period of time. So what we're saying is that, and some of these values have a new way, or they have to be, communicated. I think today there are very few organizations, or at least progressive organizations, the age of, if you're doing recruitment or hiring, earlier the standard document was a CV or a biodata, as we used to call it 30 years ago. Today, that's there, but I think more important is the kind of persona you have on social media platforms like LinkedIn. People go and check whether you have a LinkedIn profile, and therefore it's good to have a LinkedIn profile. Or you also, some of the organizations say that, can you send us a 2-minute video about yourself? So these are, and when you start doing these things, then you as an individual, apart from brands, as individuals also, we get onto a social media platform. And that helps, everything. It helps from a business perspective, it helps from a personal or from a social perspective as well. Agility. So what we're saying is that agility is the traditional thing. Mindset was that it was a technology process. Today we're saying that marketing, it's today a modern marketing approach. Okay, so the fundamentals of of advertising on digital remain very much the same as what was 30 years ago for conventional marketing, which is basically you want to reach the right people, lowest cost. Simple, it's as simple as that, in an impactful manner. The vehicle has changed. Today it is digital. Okay, but the message or the metrics, I don't think have changed in terms of how we want to evaluate this vehicle in terms of being relevant, in terms of being, getting onto the right platform with the right format. And at the end of the day, we just keep analyzing. It's basically, you can say it's an informed trial and error process. And I think the last point is on, earlier you had a competitor. You benchmarked yourself against competition in the marketplace. Today, when the customer is shopping online, you're competing with the last best experience which you have. And whatever we need to do has to be done so that this journey or this is extremely seamless. I'll give you a quick case study. This is what we did in the year 2020. This category was not there. This is a 60 ml product. So this category was born out of the pandemic. consumers were looking at healthy food, something to boost immunity, and therefore we came up with these shots. These are not very cheap, mind you. It costs about 7 to 10 dirham. That's about 140 to 150 rupees for a 60 ml shot. But it really skyrocketed our sales. We have three, four flavors, and the biggest big ticket for us is the vitamin C flavor. So what we're saying is that we marketed it properly. We understood there was a niche, there was a need for this, and we came up with a product which just catered to that need. I'll just quickly play this ad. Yeah. So, I mean, what we basically wanted to communicate on this platform was that we are just fresh fruits which are juiced daily. That was the only thing which we wanted to communicate during the pandemic to the consumers. And we talk about juices, we are talking about an ultra fresh category with a shelf life of only 3 days. What doesn't change, I think what doesn't change is, I've touched upon this briefly, is the core values. The core values of the science of marketing or the art of marketing. Whatever we have, whatever marketing was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, the core has not changed. Then I don't think it will change. The core will remain whatever we were taught, by the marketing guru Philip Kotler. I think the core has not changed one bit. It will remain the same. It will only get added, reinforced. But it's the times have changed, and people have to make those responses to be relevant with those times. Okay, this is my last slide. In terms of, what we are trying to do is we're trying to, attempt to crystal ball what will happen between now and, let's say, in the next 10 years or 8 to 10 years. What will happen? One is wearable technology. I think the most synonymous gizmo is the Apple Watch. It's nothing but the screen on your body. So this, I think, will just get accentuated. Will get taken to a completely different league. The next is artificial intelligence, and I think there is a good example of artificial intelligence is actually to correlate unrelated events. Okay, so I'll give an example. Possibly, if there was a frost in Colombia, that increases the coffee prices, which led to the number of people driving Jaguars in Kodagu. That's a totally unrelated correlation. Okay, but today we are not able to think in that manner. Artificial intelligence will make that happen. Cash, I'm sure as a business BCom students, we were always taught cash is king. It's a dead asset, but cash is king. I'm not sure whether cash will be king in going forward. I'll give you an example. Last week I was in Abu Dhabi. So we normally go every Tuesday to do a market visit, and we finished the market visit in the store, and we came down to the parking lot. Okay. So in the parking lot, normally you have people who wash cars in the parking lot, and you pay them. The standard fee is 20 dirham. So we found this local gentleman who finished, who had finished. The car wash had been done, and he asked him, it's a very fancy car. So he asked the guy who was cleaning the car, how much? He said 20 dirham. So the guy took out his card. For 20 dirham, he took out his card, and the guy who was cleaning the car had a card swiping machine. Okay, so which this guy just swiped 20 dirham, and off he went. So this is the way. Augmented reality, I mean, this will definitely, augmented reality, virtual reality, it will definitely improve human capability, for sure. So if you're watching a movie today, watching it on TV, in the future, we will be possibly inside the movie. We'll be a part of the entertainment. It will no longer be, sitting outside and watch it. It will possibly be a 360-degree affair. At least that's my guess. Semiconductors, yes, will be, there will be devices in the house which will talk to each other and which will do things which today may seem very weird and we may not be able to relate it. I'm talking about you can be sitting in a movie hall, your washing machine will speak to the grocery store and order for, let's say, soap pods if they have run out or if they have below a minimum order level which you have programmed. It would, all kinds of things which today we cannot imagine will definitely happen. And the last thing is, of course, 3D printing. It's basically ultra personalization of products. That's basically all what I had. In sum, what I just want to conclude is that by saying there is a lot of change in the world today. So as organizations, there's a change which is happening in the external environment, and there's a change which is happening in the internal environment, which is the organization. So if the change outside is growing at a much rapid pace, and we in the organization cannot keep up with that change, then that's a classic example of decay and death. And I think there are 1 million examples. Like I think Paul Nathan clearly gave the example of Nokia. There's a change happening outside. The organization was not able to keep up with that change. It will lead to possibly decay and death for organizations if they are possibly not alive to that. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Very, very fascinating, presentation, Mr. Dinesh. I think you also covered a few questions and the answers to those in your presentation itself. Although there's so many questions propping up in me, which I would love to share. Since we're slightly behind schedule, what I'll do is I'll reserve those questions for the time towards the end of our panel discussion. Since we have two members there and we have 45 minutes now, without much ado, just to pick up two issues which Mr. Dinesh had shared. Google Trends, you highlighted that there is a concern, fear, anxiety, and the focus is on health, physical and mental health. You highlighted something, it's okay not to be okay. Somewhere in the UK tube, you saw that, you said. I guess everything we say has impact on the other panelists. What you say, Mr. Dinesh, has impact on the following panelists now. Welcome, Mr. Israel. Are you there? Are you there, Mr. Israel? Yeah. Yeah, special welcome to you. Special welcome to you. Understanding your background connected to people, I guess the current situation, which seems to be concern, fear, health consciousness, etc., among the populations, I guess you have your own techniques and methods to handle them and also to overcome them. How have you done it? I think this is a kind of a small query to you. You could include that in your presentation. How have you done it? What's the secret of you working? Have you made more profits? in the post-pandemic scene. How has digitization really helped? I'm sure it has helped a lot, and it will continue to help. So it's over to you, sir. And we are waiting to
Thank you,
hear
Doctor.
you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
a lot for a critical travel. That's why I couldn't have a very short resource using mobile. And thank you. First of all, I would like to really appreciate the way you model session. This is a model role,
Thank you so
moderator
much.
role model. In fact,
Thank you so
looks
much.
like you've done a very detailed research for the people and the companies, their organization. Wonderfully, you have done it, and you're excellent.
It's all because of you
for that.
and inspiration. Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir. And
Welcome,
I would like
sir.
to thank management, especially Dr. Lina and Mr. Nasi, inviting us wonderful international conference and connecting such a elite alumni, also the students community. Thank you. I studied from a prestigious organization. That's the specialty for me. There's nothing special from mine. Where I work, where I study
Mr. Israel, sorry to intervene. I think your voice is breaking. I don't know why. The organizers also can kindly note.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Is it better?
Your video
Is
also
it better now?
is breaking here and there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
The video also is breaking.
Oh, okay.
Still the same, I think. Yeah, it's better. It's better
Maybe
now.
I'll switch off video for some time. Content is more important. This I talk mobile data and travel. So I will switch off mobile and now I think it's better. Right?
Okay. Okay.
It's better now, guys? Audio okay?
Yeah. I hear from Dr. Arul that it is network issues. So go ahead, sir. Go ahead. We hope for the best. Yeah.
Right. Just a second. Let me also try internet for possibility there. Okay. Right. And thank the team for this conference. Now, I'd like to introduce about the company, Tata TCS work. Tata is a company, no one must be knowing about Tata. TCS is a company that is around 5.4 lakh employees we are having. And in India, we have 5 lakhs. By 4.9, we have not only this number, we are the first private organization have got more than 1 lakh women population. Private sector in the India.
Wonderful.
Having more than 1 lakh women population, that is, governments are talking about 33% reservation. Already we have crossed 33. In fact, we are expecting to have a 50% of women and 50% of the leadership women in the leadership. As we drive down.
I think the video is cut, Dr. Lima.
Yes, sir. I guess he's having some network issues.
Yeah.
Yes, he joined.
Change the network now. Hopefully
Yes.
it will be better now. Audio is better.
Yeah, it should be better.
The audio is
Audio
better.
is better. Audio is better.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So Tata as a company has got a lot of uniqueness in they operate. I don't know how many of us know that 70% of the revenue profit of this company, all Tata Group, straight away goes for social and the trust. 20% of the profit. I don't think any such business conglomerate in the world size this profit. Doing it for 70% of the profit straight away for the social cost and the social reasons. Right? This is only prestigious company. Not only that, this has done a tremendous change in the social revolution, I would say, which is a silent revolution. For example, you go to the passport office. I know people who have taken the passport for 2010. They would experience that months together. They have to wait for getting a passport. Many people from outside. But today, people are getting a passport in 3 days. That made by TCS.
Very true.
Not only that, you spend more money for your agency, and the agency also charged the way they want. Everything was there. Today, that money is transparent. You are paying only for fees. So this social revolution, that elimination of corruption, those aspects also TCS has done a wonderful job. So I represent the company to happy to share that. And Coming to the topic, HR challenges, HR opportunity challenges, especially during this pandemic. HR as a profession, I would say it's like more like a mother's role and also teacher's role. Why do I say that? Why do I say so? Thankless job, at least when in our presence. So mothers will be murdered in the absence. Children will ask only one question to father. What's question? Everything they will get it from mother. Only one question they will ask mother. What's the question? Where is mom? They will get from mother, right? So HR is also similar to that. It's completely service oriented, and I would say representation of mother's role in the organization is HR. That job and happily doing the job for the past 5 years in this organization and really enjoying the job doing this. And pandemic has brought huge amount of challenges for handling this role, in fact. So key roles of HR, just a quick introduction about. One is talent acquisition. What is talent acquisition? Hiring the right people for the right job. That's first role, first job. Second one is talent management. Once you hire them, how do you engage employees to deliver their best? Every human being comes with a lot of belief and disbelief when they are entering into the organization. Am I good and here, all these things. So when they come with that kind of apprehensions and belief, disbelief, belief, trust questioning, and building a belief and trust to ensure that art of buying the heart, it's not just getting the job done, art of buying the heart. That's all the talent engagement profession, which HR professionals are doing in the company. So talent acquisition, next is talent management. The last third one is talent development. Nothing we call it as learning. So these once people are joining, not only they should be doing that work. Extremely sorry. So while I was listening, I have this problem. Extremely sorry that often goes off and come. And the talent development is a function. Once you hire people, you can't make them to stay stagnated in the same role forever. And developing them through their development, the organization will grow. That's the role. As HR does the talent acquisition, talent management, talent development. These are all three critical functions HR does in the organization. In the talent acquisition, what's the challenge for us in this pandemic time? Just one example, there are about 90,000 people in our organization have been hired remotely, and also they are working remotely. They have not even seen our office, any of our office in person, not visited. 90,000 people in the past 2 years we have hired new, and the company at least once, and they have not seen their manager at least once in person. So that's the challenge. The talent acquisition process itself, we have completely digitized. Like you have Amazon, no product that they are coming delivering similar to that. We actually have a complete distance from the people and do everything digitally. Application use or automated issuing. Every process actually is being done to a digitization. That's a huge number. You think about it, approximately to hire one person, we have to start the hire process with 1:6 is the ratio. Simple, it means 90,000 into 6 is the number we should handle when they are in the entire hiring process the past 2 years. Huge amount of digitization helps in handling this process. Coming to the talent management and talent engagement. See, when we meet people, for example, when we meet people in person itself, the engagement, buying their heart is so challenging when you meet in person. Teachers know very well actually when they handle virtual classes alone. And being HR, you should be able to develop leaders inside the organization in the art of buying the heart of the employees. How do I, it's not just, getting the work alone done. How do I make them to work with the heart? That is biggest challenge. That it involves talent retention also. As initially moderator pointed out, it's talking about the attrition rate is less, retaining the people, not going out. So that's the biggest challenge for us. That is how do I build belief and trust on the organization? Only then people will stay back. Many times people say that, no, go for a salary organization, but 80% of the people leave the organization because of their boss, not because of reason. So in that case, how do I develop the leaders to ensure that they are building trust among their employees? Because managers alone, we have close to 40,000 managers across the globe, 40,000 managers alone, right? And ensuring them are equipped, developed to the extent they are able to retain the retention of the employees in the organization. It's not just getting work done alone, right? And also the talent development. In fact, I would say that talent development is the one function which really made a huge impact in this pandemic, like what we are doing. I have attended, I've addressed another conference of BBA from Loyola, I think 3-4 years back in person. We very only 2-3 people from there we were able to address. But now we are able to get the speakers, panelists, experts across the globe because of this pandemic and online process. So that perspective, development, learning and development function would not, instead of having just 30 or 40 people in a training hall, but we are able to handle around 300, 400 people across globe in one training session, and bringing experts across globe also was happened in the entire process. So this is what in the process, what we have struggled a lot. Suddenly the work from home is announced. In fact, TCS was not used for a work from home option, unlike other IT companies, especially in India. So how do I make sure that every employee who is already working or maybe joining, their computers reaching their home during the lockdown was the challenge we are facing. System reaching, making them to work. Like today, I have a network issue. Like every day, a huge amount of network issue, lockdown. But within 15 days of lockdown, 90% of our employees started resuming the work. This is the world record. No organization have done it. So we have proved that we are the resilient company. We are able to bounce back even during the challenge. That's a service organization as people. HR as a profession, we be together along with the leaders of the organization. So in HR, if you ask me, there are a lot of students, I assume that a lot of students also here, you have a huge opportunity to work in HR as a profession. You have a huge opportunities there. HR, not that I don't like this subject, I come to HR, I don't like marketing, I come to not like that. HR is a profession, you should have passionate about doing the HR. One. Second, people say about communication skill required, interpersonal skill required, and many skills in the normal days. But during pandemic time, what you need is resilient. Resilient means ability to bounce back to normal when you are facing the abnormal situations. That first challenge, also not only you are becoming resilient, you make the people around you and your focus on the people becoming resilient is more important. That's one is most importantly we had to pay. And it's a word itself I heard actually much after coming this pandemic, after getting this pandemic. So it was a big challenge for us to build the resilience. First, resilience is a space for me, and also among the organization and the entire is a challenge. So we do that. And second one is adversity quotient. What is this adversity quotient is all about? Adversity quotient is converting obstacles into opportunities. It's not just overcoming the obstacles. It's also about how do I convert my obstacles into opportunities. And one example I'll tell you. Most of you from southern part of India must know who is Rajinikanth, right? One example, this is one example I can say that. When Rajinikanth was entering in the movie field, there was no favorable conditions prevalent for him in terms of his movie. Yes, especially the way he speaks the language, he was not aware. And whatever the whatever features required for an actor, it was defined at that point of time. Nothing was available. So, and he was most criticized for his hairstyle. Must be knowing that one movie, the politics currently also. That's the name of that character itself. So the hair was the most criticized one. If you ask me today, down the line 30 years, he has actually become a superstar by using that hairstyle. That is the number one style of Rajinikanth. So converted what was negative for him into the positive aspect is a specific portion, like training, what they are doing actually today. There was a challenge, meeting people, connecting, but converting that as an opportunity today and able to bring the people from the globe. That's the adversity. So obstacles into opportunity. This is what the most sought skills expected during this pandemic time as a professional rather than being a normal routine. Building the belief, in fact, the belief for people to go for vaccination was a big challenge for employees, for HR team to work with that. And in addition to that, every family had a kind of challenge at their home, either in terms of the sickness or in losing the people, was there. In spite of that, how do I handle them? How do I support them? Greatest challenge. Connecting people, talking. In fact, HR itself had this problem. Their own family had a problem. In spite of their own problem, how can I handle the other's problem? Pandemic. That is the job during this period successfully. We have done it as a team of HR professionals. So HR is a profession. It's like a mother's function to actually have a greater opportunity if you really are passionate about the HR profession. And company like this, we have close to 5,000 HR across the India now. Huge opportunities for the students. And qualification, right sets will bring in because you are good at working. That's why I come to HR. It will not work. That's what HR is all about. It's about the art of acquiring right people and acquiring buying the people. That's the second. Then developing the people to the growth of the organization. That's what the opportunities are there in front of us. Huge challenges was there, and we have overcome successfully. So with that, thanks for the opportunity for the day, and over to the moderator, please.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you for that insightful sharing. Despite the voice breaking, what you shared was very, very clear. What you finally said, the art of acquiring the right people. I think that hit the nail on the head, literally. And I guess that's the reason for the success of TCS, the way it is. It is the number 2 in the world. We have heard about that recently. And it's very funny that your board management has decided to pay more for the current shares. The shares fell down yesterday by 1%, 1.odd%. But then the same day we get the news that you are willing to spend something like 18,000 crores to buy from investors at 16% premium. So I guess you love your company, and that's why it's doing well. So self-belief, I think Mr. Kohli and Tata Sons has really laid the ground for classic growth in business environments, and set a standard for the world. The people management is the key to the whole thing. And I think you also summarized that beautifully, and I think you said it very well when you mentioned that the art of buying the heart. That was classic, I think, from you. For a HR person, I think nothing like it. You slightly modified a small problem I had with HR people. I guess it was some time back. Getting the maximum out of people. You plan everything, every second in their life, and get the maximum out of them. I think it's very heartening to hear that you stick to the heart. And I suppose that is the mantra which any relationship in the world, Mr. Dinesh mentioned about that sometime, any relationship building needs, being a mother and a father and traditional parentage, and I guess the family life concepts has been brought into the HR field very beautifully now by organizations. So Godspeed to them. I don't want to take too much time. we have exactly 23 minutes to 11. But you know, we need not be finicky about time. Mr. Vijay Kapoor is waiting, the only entrepreneur among our panelists. When he shares his views, whatever he shares, I'm sure it will be an exciting thing. So I thank Mr. Israel for very succinctly sharing the vitality of HR so far. And I guess it's time to go to the next panelist, Mr. Vijay Kapoor, who's waiting there. And I guess, like Derby, the brand, you are a brand in Derby and for the world. I peeped into one of your talks recently. I think it was 2 years back. And you said that you love them. You know, when you went to that college and talked to them, it was so beautiful to hear you say that. A man of fashions talking from the heart like that was very refreshing. So it's over to you, sir. And we certainly wish to hear you about what is the impact of digitization ultimately. Is that foreign to you? Is that something very different from the kind of people-oriented type you are? The kind of experience you've had in life? Yes, sir, it's over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Father Jose. I'm very, very happy to be here. First, for the main reason is that I'm an alumni of Loyola, so it's an extremely proud moment always to come back to and address your fellow
Welcome.
Students. So I'm extremely happy and extremely grateful for this opportunity and wishing each one out here a fabulous and a flourishing future. That's my only prayer for each one of you. Let me start this morning by telling you, love you so much. Most of you might be wondering what's an entrepreneur sitting out here and speaking about love, and what's love got to do with anything that we're speaking right now. But I always believe love is the only emotion that is truly worth showing that you're human, because human beings are the only one who can go beyond me, mine, myself. We can, love one another. We can love not only other human beings, but we're capable of loving plant, animal, and everything around us. And in that belief that love is the only thing that you can unite humanity, love is the only thing that makes this whole world go round. I start my entire morning by telling you, love you so much. In fact, the tag of Derby, I'm just holding the tag of Derby out here. So we carry this whole message of love, even in our business. It's not just a philosophy that I believe in, but this is exactly what we do. And we call this whole thing called as styled for good. So no matter what we do, there is a factor of love involved in what we do. There's a factor of compassion. There's a factor of the responsibility. In fact, Derby is not just a Derby menswear, but it's called as Derby responsible menswear. The word responsible itself speaks about responding with ability, responsibility. So what is the ability that Derby has as a brand to respond to this current situation that we're going through? My topic that I was given was to speak about pivoting your business model during the pandemic. Now, I know we are all students, we're all doing our BCom honors, and we're still not there into entrepreneurship. But I would urge many of you to actually get into entrepreneurship and become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is like being a choice maker. What do I mean by like being a choice maker? I always ask myself, how do we give away our right to somebody else to decide what our net worth has to be? How do we give away that fundamental right of us for somebody else to decide what should be your salary this year? What should be your increment this year? How do we give away that? I think if you want to decide that you want to be the co-author of your destiny, if you want to decide that I want to live the life that I want to live, and not only live my life for me, myself, but through me, if I'm able to help other people also live themselves. And that is entrepreneurship. Not only do you find opportunity for you to succeed in whatever passion you have, whatever talent you have. Entrepreneurship is basically finding a problem in the world and saying, hey, this is a problem out there. And through my talent, through my passion, I'm going to find a solution to that. And entrepreneurship is all about taking resources from areas of lower productivity and deploying them in areas of higher productivity. You take money from probably the bank at a lower interest rate and double the money. And that's how you make your money. You use human resources, people who want to join and work with you, and you use their talent to ensure you're able to get the best out of them and enhance their life, in the process also enhance the life of everything around you. You take materials in the world and you do value add to it, and that's how you deliver. So entrepreneurship is all about taking, things from taking resources from lower productivity and deploying them in higher productivity. Now, just to briefly speak about myself, I'm a first generation entrepreneur. I did my schooling from Loyola College, from St. Bede's, then Loyola College. And a few years back, I passed out from Stanford University. I did Stanford Seed program with them. It's a one-year transformational program on organizational transformation. Post college, I didn't know what to do. I was absolutely not a very good student. I should say that I was always the first bencher because I'm very short. A lot of emotional baggage with me, and a lot of things that I'm not good enough. Eventually, when I got out of college and had to take up a job because I come from a very impoverished family, started the job. That's when I discovered I also had talent, and I started selling, and I was a super salesman. That's when I realized I may be a duffer. I may not be very good in studies, but even I have talent. I have the capability of going out there and winning through selling. And that's where I found my passion. Eventually, I said that, okay, I worked for 2 years. I've been very, very successful. I understand how to sell. Can I start off a tailoring unit? And I started with 2-machine tailoring unit in Chennai in 1994 with just 2 machines with a capital of 1 lakh rupees. That was partly borrowed from my father and partly from my savings that I had from the incentives that I received. I mentioned I was a very good salesman, so you get a lot of incentive. So that's how I started. From a 2-machine, today Darby is a brand. It's a men's fashion brand. So we have close to about 45 stores in Tamil Nadu. Let's only speak about Tamil Nadu right now. We have 45 stores in Tamil Nadu. And we are flourishing, doing extremely well. During the pandemic, when the pandemic hit, and when the lockdown started on 23rd of March 2020, we started looking back and asking ourselves, what is happening? How do we handle the situation? I mean, everything is a lockdown. We are a retail brand. We only are able to survive because we have retail stores. And at that point of time, we had about 75 stores of Darby in Tamil Nadu. Now it's come down to about 45. So we had 75 stores and we don't have any revenue. What are we going to do? It started with a 1-day lockdown, Sunday lockdown, 1 week, 1 month, 2 months. Now, when a pandemic hits and the world has never seen anything as what we saw, what we are going through COVID, it's something humanity has not seen for over 100 years. You start asking yourself, these are the times when people, entrepreneurs sit back and start questioning their own ambition, their own vision. Am I good enough? What am I going to do? But when pandemic hit, we have to sit back and we have to ask ourselves the question, because being an entrepreneur is like being a father. You want to take care of your children before you take care of yourself. So we have so many people dependent upon you. We have hundreds of people who work for you in the factories. We have retail stores, we have franchise partners, we have our suppliers, we have our vendors. How do we ensure we're able to take care of them? And how do we ensure we are also able to survive these times? Because during pandemic, a question comes, should I carry on? Should I do this? Can I just shut down? Can I shut down my operations and, cut down my losses? These are the questions that run through your mind. And a lot of people, a lot of businesses shut down during pandemic because of various reasons, because they probably didn't see a future, probably the business they were in was not suitable for it. But this is the time we sat back and we started asking ourselves existential question about why do we come to work? Is it just about profits? Is it just about, us being, doing what we want to do? Can we put our customers ahead of us? Can we put our suppliers ahead of us? Can we put our team ahead of us? Can we ensure that during these times, can we come together collectively and make? And in the organization, the way Darby is structured is we believe in shared leadership. Typically in a CEO-driven or a entrepreneur-driven organization, it's all about heroic leadership. Where the hero is there, he comes, takes all the decision. But in the organization, we have shared leadership. We have head of every department who has an equal say, called it management committee, who has an equal say in the decision-making, in the strategy of the organization, and how we take our entire business purpose forward. So we decided that we need to meet every day through the Zoom from morning 10 to afternoon 2, looking at how do we pivot the business model during these testing times. What is pivoting? Pivoting is nothing but how do you sustain, survive? How do you change your entire business model? First to initially sustain, and how do you flourish when things open up? That is pivoting. How do you pivot? What do you do during these times? Stores are shut. E-commerce is not working because only essentials are being delivered. You cannot even use your e-commerce channel to deliver your products because you're not essential. You're just sitting out there for months together. During these times, we started internally looking at ourselves. We called up over 2,000 of our customers, had empathy call. We did something called as a design thinking process. We have an empathy call with the customers, asking them how are they doing, what is happening during pandemic, what is their feelings, what are their emotions, and eventually understanding when they used to shop at Darby, why do they come to us? What do they like about the brand? And empathy is very, very different. Design thinking process very different from what we traditionally do. Call up and ask direct questions. No direct questions. Each call lasts for about 30 minutes. 2,000 customers, people who have shopped with us 5 years back, people who come back regularly, people who have come and dropped off. And then we understood what do they want from us? Why do customers come to us? After understanding that, we decided to again realign our product and services. That is called pivoting. Realign our products and services to serve our customers better. We had a strategic tie-up with an Australian company, and we brought in something called as Corona block, a COVID block for clothes. People were scared to go there. They would go there for about half an hour, come back, immediately wash all the clothes. The masks, they were scared whether they'll get COVID on it. So we came up with something called as COVID block. This COVID block technology, or Corona block technology, was a new generation technology which was being deployed in all the hospitals to protect the frontline workers from contracting the COVID. So we use the same technology on our garments. We pivoted the business to ensure that we give the feeling of safety to our customers. We reduce the price. We understand during these testing times, they may not have enough of money when they come back. Probably a lot of them have not got salaries. Probably the increments have been stopped. Probably they had to pay the EMIs, but didn't have money. So we reduced the prices by 20% and we increased the quality. We put a separate quality department to ensure that even a price drop of 20%, can we improve the quality of the entire production? So we improve the quality, reduce the price to make ourselves more affordable and help our customers come out and shop. Our franchise partners who have been partnering with us, they have shut stores. They don't have any other revenue. How can we take care of them? How do we ensure they're able to sustain? We went back to our landlords, renegotiated landlords, saying that during pandemic, please don't charge us rent. Can we go on a revenue share model? When we make money, we will give to you. We've been, dealing with you for the last 20, 25 years. You made great money from us. Can you support us? We went back to our bankers, asking them to ensure that can they probably delay the interest? So every aspect. Then we took insurance policies for all our team. We took up insurance policies for COVID. So in case anyone had COVID and hospitalization was very expensive. So we ensured all the team members had hospitalization expense, as well as we also took additional insurance policies for their accident and life. We did a lot of things so that we protected the families and the staff members. In case they contracted, they had something to do. As we pivoted, as we did the internal changes, and internally the entire organization came back to us, the entire management team. I spoke about shared leadership. They came back to us and tell us, I know it's very difficult to the organization. I know we don't have anything called scenario planning. Till then, we didn't have scenario planning. We never ever expected the entire world would come to a stop. So we started scenario planning of scenario A, scenario B, scenario C. What happens in scenario A? Everything going on. What happens a partial lockdown? What happens full lockdown? So we came up with various scenario planning. What will be the type of sales? What will be the type of expenses? What do we do? And how do we ensure we're able to reach our customer? And we went completely digital. We started our entire digitalization. We started our social media. We started to reach out to customers. We came up with the entire program called as Clothes Don't Make It the Man. Coming from a clothing brand, it's a very dangerous statement to make. Clothes make it the man is what we have heard. We came back saying clothes don't make it the man. When the entire media was speaking about negativity, when entire media was speaking about death counts, entire media was saying what is not right, we started saying what is right. A man is a combination of how he thinks, how he feels, and what he does. Nothing else composites a man. How he thinks, how he feels, and what he does. Can we get these three domains of the man right? So we started working through this digital transformation program. We selected 38 participants from 38 districts of Tamil Nadu, started doing this completely digitally, getting the leaders from the industry, like we had Kumravel from Naturals, mentoring them on entrepreneurship. We had Janaki Ram and Murgavel from matrimony.com, bharatmatrimony.com, nurturing them on relationship, how to develop better relationship. Then we had Gautam Vasudev Menon, the very famous director, speaking to them about how you live your character in spite of any industry you're in. We had Vandana from, she's the ex-head of the Vogue magazine, and she's also a major into your environmentalist. So we got her to speak about environment, sustainability. So we got all these programs to transform these young minds. And we said, we cannot touch everybody. Can we touch 38 people from 38 districts and make them role models out there? Can we change their thinking domain? Can we change their feeling domain? Can we teach them how to dress and be successful? And we created this whole program through this digital platform. Everything was 100% digital. And when they started responding and this whole thing went viral, people started watching it all across in Tamil Nadu, and a huge successful program wherein people saw how people can transform and a positive message going out, something very good. What can I do for my city? What can I do for my town? How can I do it? What am I doing? Then digitally, we also did various programs like Show Up. During these months, whenever there was any festive occasion, we started going and distributing free clothes to people on the street. I said, we may not have the money to spend. Can we go and spread cheer? We started doing distribution of free clothes. In fact, we asked people to, apply to us digitally in terms of where you are, how you are. And we used to ship them these beautiful cartons of packed shirts that they'll go around distributing, making videos of it and posting it. Because people need to learn from others how they do it. People need reminders for remembering. We need to keep reminding people how to live a better life, how to contribute, because we want to do it, but we are all silent spectators in what we do. So can we teach people how to live a better life? So these small digital pivoting entire business model, ensuring we're very customer friendly, ensuring we're taking care of team, ensuring we're taking care of suppliers, ensure that in spite of the lockdown, I said we had 75 stores in Tamil Nadu, we brought it down to about 45 stores. We had to shut down. Some places, it just didn't work. We shut down over the last 2 years, reduced it. But what happened? The 45 stores that stayed with us are highly profitable. EBITDA was 15% in spite of the pandemic. In fact, we did much better performance in terms of our sales per store, plus in terms of profitability during the pandemic. And that is a lesson that we need to do. It's never what happens to you. It is how you respond to it that matters. It's not about how much you have. What you do with what you have really matters. It is not about how intelligent you are. It's a direction of your intelligence that really matters. If you're able to get these things right about you, stop complaining. This is not going right. That is not going right. My parents are not right. College is not right. I don't have the type of lifestyle I want. I don't have the type of money. Stop complaining. Start appreciating. Go with gratitude about what you have. Look at what you have in life. Start appreciating you. For those who use what they have, more shall be given. If you're able to use the talent that you already have, manifest it into the world, more talent will be given. So please use what you have, get your direction of thinking. A lot of people come up to me and say, I've got this great, phenomenal idea, but I don't have the money. I want to tell you, idea is only 10%. 90% is execution of the idea. Idea is only 10%. 90% execution excellence. And that's why most businesses fail. Because we all come with great ideas, but we don't have the execution excellence. So my call out to each one of you, believe in yourself. Self-belief is the beginning of all the success in your life. Believe in yourself, believe in your future, but get yourself competent, consistent, directed, self-motivated, intelligent effort. Can you get yourself competent enough? Can you get the direction of your thinking right, your intelligence right? Can you put in hard work? Can you ensure that you're able to give yourself 100% intensity and enthusiasm in anything that you do? There should never be a dull moment in your life. If you're able to do that, then see how your life manifests, then see how you grow, and then see you will become a role model. Ask yourself a question. Am I a typical 20-year-old? Or am I a 20-year-old that other 20-year-olds can look up to? That is the question that you ask yourself at every juncture of your life. I still ask myself this question. Am I a typical 50-year-old? Or am I a 50-year-old that others can look up to? Can I be the healthiest? Can I be the fittest? Can I be the most energetic? Can I be the most hardworking? Can I give my 110% to anything that I do? Believe me, if you do that, there can never be a dull moment in your life. You can. Even God, they say, Inshallah, they say, God willing, your will become God's will. When He sees that you're willing to give what it takes, God tests you to ensure that He is going to, qualify the winners from the also rans. So give it your 100% and see how your life manifests. Love you so much. May this be the first day to the rest of your flourishing life. Love you. God bless you and have a fantastic future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vijay. We love you too. The way you seem to love a lot of people. And I think, in the world of health, it is said that the secret of health is to get your blood moving well. Circulation is very vital. I think listening to you will get the circulation moving. So it was very therapeutic and very enlightening, fairly complete, very positive. I think these are the things which are needed in the pandemic. And I think you did that through execution, as you so beautifully said. 90% is execution, 10% ideas. And I'm sure that keeps ringing in the mind. And we thank you so much for that insightful life-sharing experience. Thank you so much. It's 2 minutes to 11. And, I've asked permission from the organizers to extend the session by 10 minutes because, the critical 10 minutes might require, a bit of our respect to the members, to the student community. There is one or two questions which I would like to ask all the panelists, if you don't mind. I hope the panelists are hearing me. The questions are open to all of you. At the same time, maybe one or two questions might be focused on a couple of them. I have written that somewhere. Just give me a moment.
Back to college with their note paper and pen, Professor.
Very true. And very often in college, I used to miss the papers. And I think I'm missing it even now. So anyway, I think I leave it to I leave it to what the question from the members. I think Sneha, Professor Sneha is coordinating that. There were two questions I thought which was there. So I have to just get into that link. And I guess I'll do that in a second. And I ask the question. There were two questions. I remember seeing that. So let me go to that chat. Yeah, there is one question from Tahir Khan. And the question is, will content marketing evolve due to digitization pacing up? So content marketing. So I guess the question can be taken by any of you. Digitization and content marketing is definitely connected. Search words, so we are in the world of search words, keywords, and so on. So digitizing requires these intelligent words to be put into your web page and so on. What do you foresee as the future of content marketing?
If I can go, Dr.
Dinesh or
Vijay? Oh, please,
Vijay?
Please go ahead.
Okay,
yeah. Go ahead, please.
I think there's a whole concept called as permission marketing that's very that's really happening today. Because let's speak about when you're doing anything that is social media, and social media is nothing but pipes out there. The pipes are filled in by the people themselves. Unlike the earlier traditional media that we had, where we had gatekeepers everywhere. You'll have an editor who will let you publish, or you'll have a hoarding owner who will let you think. So we have gatekeepers everywhere. Social media has removed the gate and ensured that the people in thing are the ones who are posting out there. So one of the biggest challenges that all brands, all organizations are facing is that the customers who are there are totally ignoring you. The content that you produce is not a content that's adding value to their life. So whenever you're doing anything called as content, I wouldn't call it even marketing. Now you need to get out of the whole concept about selling and marketing to people and adding value to people's life. How can I add value? How can I ensure that whatever I create is something that people want to consume? It is giving them a solution. It is giving them a direction, or it's entertaining them, or it is something that they really want. If you don't do that and still follow the traditional ways of how earlier advertisement used to be done, then content marketing is not going to work for you. There has to be content value. There has to be a value that people see. And only then will it work. And this only
Thank you
goes
for
forward if
that.
we're able to create through permission marketing. Don't
Permission marketing.
Don't
Okay.
junk people. Don't junk people with emails. Don't junk people with unnecessary I. Every marketer, every brand is crying I. No one wants to hear about you. Nobody's interested in you. And that's what is happening today. The biggest challenge, people are finding millions of dollars being spent into advertising and marketing through social media, which is not producing any results. It's not producing any results at all, because all of them are yelling, I am this, I am this, buy me, buy this.
If I may button, Vijay,
Yes.
what you're saying is, I think the very specter of advertising and the very philosophy of advertising is being questioned by you when you said it that way. Beautiful. Permission marketing, and I think it is working in a way. The Google words and the keywords and so on. Any comments on that, Mr. Dinesh? Because your company is a success story on that.
No, it's not so much of a success, but I think I'm more or less aligned with what Vijay had to say. So what happens is, I think the first thing is the way you want to define content marketing. So I think that has to evolve, and it has to be more organic. Okay, it has to be more organic, and it has to be much, much less than selling something. The moment you start getting into selling a space, that's the moment the customer, if he or she shuts you out, because the attention span is very small. So I think you have to actually appeal, and you have to be relevant, and you have to be organic as far as the
and you also
end consumer is concerned. That's when you make sense.
Yeah. You also mentioned somewhere in your speech that 2 seconds is the only time you have.
That's what they estimate. That's the attention span.
Attention span. I think that's brilliant, actually, for you to highlight it that way. And if I may, also request Mr. Israel also to get into this discussion. There is this question. In fact, before Mr. Israel, there is another question for you, and there is a question connected to Barakat here. Could Barakat be more cost-effective than Rawabi and Almari by juicing daily? Now, the question comes from Daniel Joseph. Now, I have no idea of Rawabi and Almari. I think the question is to you, Mr. Dinesh.
So I think, I don't think, firstly, I'd like to be respectful to my competition and not undermine them in any way. Okay. Secondly, I don't think it's not a like to like. It's not, you're comparing an apple and a pineapple. So it's not a like to like comparison. Because if you look at,
very true. Good.
So what happens? Barakat. So if you look at the juice market, just to spend a minute, because I think otherwise I won't be able to. The question won't be answered.
It's all right. It's all right. Take a minute, sir. No problem.
Yeah. So the Barakat plays into what we call in the juice category, in what we call the ultra fresh space. So that is a 3-day shelf life. Everybody else, whether it is Al Rawabi, Al Marai, play in what we call the perceived fresh space, which is anywhere between 20 to 28 days shelf life. Okay. So the dynamics are completely different. The dynamics are completely different, and each has their own, reasons, compelling reasons as to why they should play in that space. Okay.
We get you.
So I just want to say, therefore, it's not a fair comparison. It's not a like-to-like comparison. There are pros and cons of both. And I'm sure the question was on cost effectiveness. The measures of cost effectiveness, for example, would be different. For example, in a short shelf life category such as mine, one key measure of cost effectiveness is expiries. We get back from the shelf. Okay, so you have product. What happens to unsold product after 3 days? So it's just trashed. Okay. So that goes into our cost. Okay. So we have to manage that cycle. So we have to manage the cycle.
And thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm just butting in because of the time factor. Your success story, I also meant that you deal something like 6,000 tons per month of food materials. I hope I'm right. I got that from your web, and you have 350 refrigerator vehicles. Now that's something which you have to put into action. And when Mr. Vijay Kapoor was mentioning that, this is big activities, and you have standards from all over the world, SUV, TUV, and everyone, SG, and so on. Lloyds. I hope they are there. Now, if I may pose a question to the TCS man, Mr. Israel, are you there?
Yes, sir. Very much. I'm in. Very much. I'm in.
Yeah. How do you retain the talent, as you were mentioning? You mentioned talent development from home and so on. How do you get them to stay with you? What's the secret of your lower attrition rate?
Okay.
Very quick
Very
response,
nice question.
If you don't mind.
Very nice question. In fact, TCS values, I've not seen this value because having worked in different organizations, one of the important value for TCS is respect for people. So respect for people, as I told you, people leave bosses, not the organization. So the respect for people is inbuilt as the values of the organization and the leaders of the organization. When you respect for people and respect for the time, respect for people would have had a different experience from different organizations. This organization always people first. That's the most important thing. And also second part of it, during pandemic also, we have actually communicated, not only communicated and also practiced that we are there for you, whatever challenges comes beyond the scope of work. As HR, we actually, even I have seen one of our colleagues, that lady was having a corona. In spite of her own corona, she was actually morning 10 to night 10, she was handling people calls, admitting for helping people to get admission in the hospitals, which is not in the scope of the work actually at that point of time. So that is the kind of buy-in we had from our people. So when we are communicating that we are there for you, not only communicating and practicing, the retention was made possible.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your sharing. And in fact, the panel discussion started with Mr. Paul. So if I may end with Paul, and if I may ask this question, Mr. Dinesh mentioned somewhere that, the reinstatement of values of honesty, being straightforward, due diligence, and so on. He was mentioning that. Now, how far do these values connect up in your profession, Mr. Paul Nader? In your kind of asset, asset management, it can be a cold science in a way, no? But I guess real asset management of land and space is very people-oriented. And particularly when you are in a distance now, how do you handle these values, like honesty and straightforwardness and due diligence? How do you do that,
Thank you
Mr.
for
Paul?
this question, Professor. As you know from my profile, that I'm the fellow of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveying, and also the board member with the Institute of Real Estate Management. For us, the ethics, integrity, and core values is paramount. Within the Real Estate Institute of Canada, if any of our professionals do go knowingly or unknowingly wrong in their profession, they need to come back to the institute and take ethical course and pass the course to continue the business. And we will strip them off if they do any major offense or indisciplined way of performing the work, then they are out of business. Either they will be suspended or dismissed.
I guess you apply your standards very clearly and beautifully. And thank you for that response. With that, I think we have reached the end of our time. It's 11:10. I especially thank the organizers for this opportunity and this great favor done to me, literally. I thank Dr. Arul, who's coordinating a lot of things behind there. I thank you so much, and the staff of BCom Honors, Dr. Lima, and I profusely thank my panelists for making this a very, very active session. I think you have done, all of you, not only just your industry proud, but yourself as individuals. And I guess I have a new connect with you, which I hope to cherish sometime. And I'm sure the students of Loyola and the many other students who are also watching this this presentation by the panelists have found a lot to think about and get into the action mode in the future. So thank you very much for this honor. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never regard study as duty, but as the enviable opportunity to learn, by Albert Einstein. You can learn something new every day if you listen. I'm sure after listening to such eminent and motivational speakers, participants would have concluded hard work plus dream plus dedication is equal to success. Success is a vehicle which moves on a wheel called hard work, but the journey is impossible without fuel called self-confidence. Thank you, Dr. Francis Jose and the panelists for providing us an enriching and informative session.
Thank you.
Now we are moving on to our paper
Thank you,
presentation.
Dr. Reena.
Thank you, sir. I call upon
Thank you.
Dr. Amina Banu and Ms. Anshu Sherian from Amity School of Business, Kochi, to present their paper titled A Study on Behavioral Analysis of Brands Using Taglines of Natural Ingredients in Beauty Care Sector. Over to Dr. Amina and Ms. Anshu Sherian.
Give me a second. I'm just checking with sharing the screen.
Dr. Amina.
Yes, ma'am. My co-author is just about to, take her PPT and about to present. So I was just waiting for her.
So do you want us to share?
Well, shall I mail it out to you, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right.
You send it to the conference mail ID, please.
Sure, ma'am.
If next participant is ready with the PowerPoint, can we have the next participant?
Sam Joel.
Sam Joel from Max Department.
Yeah, ma'am.
Are you ready with your presentation?
Yeah, ma'am. I'm ready.
Yes.
Yes. So in the meanwhile, while Amina ma'am and Anshu Sherian is being ready with the PPT, I'll call upon Mr. Shiva Prakash, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Loyola College, who along with Sam Joel, Rahul, Harish from the Department of Mathematics, Loyola College, and Hariharan from Department of Commerce has contributed 4 research papers on different topics. Due to time constraint, we have requested Sam Joel to present their paper titled An Analysis on Mining of Cryptocurrency during the demand of the silicon production and graphic processing unit. Over to Sam Joel.
An analysis on mining of cryptocurrency during the demand of silicon production and graphic processing unit. The topic is that how was the video card manufacturing company affected during the pandemic? Objectives of the study: to analyze financial statement of NVIDIA from 2017 to 2021 and compare the financial variable, to study the effect of crypto miner in production of GPU, to study the effect of COVID-19 in production of GPU. Problem statement: the issue is the crypto miners and silicon shortage. Scrappers are buying up most of the stockers using automatic bots. Websites like Best Buy, New York, and Micro Center are attempting to counteract this by using one per household option. Since the high demand of GPUs, scrappers are within the game. Scrappers will typically sell basic model like RTX 3060 for the price of RTX 3090. Then they sell the value of the RTX 3090 $1,000 over the MSRP. The three problems for silicon shortage are COVID-19 pandemic is the main problem and the limited manufacturing. The US-China trade war, Trump trade war with the China is the final factor. The research helped provide information about the silicon shortage and GPU production pre and post pandemic of COVID-19. Null hypothesis: there is no significant financial growth of e-commerce through NVIDIA. Methodology: secondary data has been collected on NVIDIA financial statement between 2019 to 2020. Focus group discussion among youth of various places on Discord on pre and post pandemic GPU price and stocks. Survey has been taken and data has been collected. Tool used for analysis: correlation and trend analysis. Various ratios analysis tools were applied to assess the following: short-term solvency, long-term solvency, turnover ratio, and profitability ratio. Analysis: in profitable ratio, in gross profit ratio, the researcher could see that the ratio in marginally increase. This shows the company has more cash to pay for indirect and other costs such as interest and one-time expenses. In operating profit ratio, the company experienced higher operating costs that you could overcome with more customers or higher price. During pandemic, the company profit has been affected, as we can see in the graph of net profit ratio. Activity ratio: the company has good receivable turnover ratio. In stock turnover ratio, the company has bad stock turnover ratio during COVID-19 pandemic. Short-term solvency: the company has good and stability liquid ratio, but should also indicate that it not use its asset efficiency, securely, financially, all right, or properly managing its assets. Long-term solvency: the company has overall done well. Correlation between current ratio and liquid ratio: the main difference is looking at the current ratio, quick ratio is the quick ratio only use liquid assets. The correlation of current assets and quick ratio is 0.9856179, which is in the range of -1 to +1, and the positive correlation which the two variables are high in the same direction with highly correlated result. NVIDIA is one top 10 companies in the world and one of the most affected companies in the world during pre and post pandemic. The ratio and correlation study proves there is a significant growth in pre-pandemic and downturn in the COVID-19 pandemic. Findings: an investment requires putting capital to the work in form of the time, money, effort in hope of greater payoff in the future than what was originally put in the high risk. Therefore, investors see a good, stable and company invest in it. The company has stable short-term solvency, but the company didn't use its assets ineffectively way because the company has very high current ratio and quick ratio. So the company should effectively use the current assets. The researcher could see the COVID-19 pandemic make a drastic change in the company financially in short-term solvency. In 2020, company has higher ratio and then a huge drop ratio in 2021. This shows the company has affected financially in a pandemic. The graph clearly shows the researchers that companies have been affected by various issues like crypto mining, COVID-19 pandemic, and US-China trade war. By analyzing ratio of financial statement of NVIDIA, the researcher could see the ratio drop in 2021. This shows the researcher the ratio difference between pre and post-pandemic. Limitation. The researcher might have formulated research aims and objective too broadly. The researcher can specify in which way the formulation of research aims and objective could be narrowed so that the level of focus of study could be increased. The researcher used a ratio analysis tool and correlation tool. Many tools can be used, so many data can be collected. Scope of discussion is the one of the limitation of the research. The time limit can be limitation. MS Word and MS Excel 2019 is a only technological tool. By ratio analysis method, the researcher can find only a past financial status, future can be predicted. Way forward. Further research can be done using various technology tools like WPF Office, Apache Open Office, Google Sheets. Further research can be done using data collection method like combination research, focus group, observation, quantitative analysis, and quantitative method. Further research can be done by taking any silicon company product. Example, Taiwan Silicon Company for the research. Further research can be extracting the financial from other websites like investing in NVIDIA Corp or income statement. Conclusion. The research concludes that a significant growth and will be main market for investment in cryptocurrency. The research also paved a way to understand the financial position of India. This has been a significant learning for aspect of financial investment and marketing. Reference. Will the GPU shortage ever end? With this question, I stop my presentation.
Thank you, Sam. The floor is open for questions from the participants. Any questions? Okay, I think there is no questions to Sam. Nice presentation, Sam. Amina ma'am and Ansu Serian ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I request Dr. Amina Banu and Ms. Ansu Serian from Amity School of Business, Kochi to present their paper.
Good afternoon, all. Here I am Ansu Serian. I am a PhD student in Amity University, Gurugram, and my guide, Dr. Amina Babu, Assistant Professor at Amity Global Business School, Kochi, which is affiliated to Amity University, Noida. Here we are presenting our paper. Our paper is related to cosmetic market, and the topic is study on behavior analysis of brand using tagline of natural ingredient in cosmetic market. And these are the contents through which we are going through. As we all know, the cosmetic market is facing a boom as well as a drastic change can be occurring either in international market as well as in Indian market. Even we can see local players are coming to the market, and the main motivation for this as a company point of view, we can see that the main thing is they are focusing on the brand reputation will increase, and nowadays environmental and sustainabilities are arising. So this can be followed by that. At the same time, their CSR as well as their responsibility towards the society will also can increase. And as a customer point of view, what they are looking is now the customer perception is changing. Especially earlier stage, the cosmetic market completely focusing on one category as well as the fairness. And globally now people are people perception towards cosmetic as well as beauty care is changing, and they are also aware to know what actually in the product, and even the people are now need to educate, and the marketing strategy is also changing. And if I talk about the next topic, the main issue related to this problem is that the brands are coming up and there is a communication gap. Especially the traditional marketing strategies are changing. New strategies are introduced by the new players, and that are quite impressive. And people also focusing to on this and people focusing on this, and the people are attracting towards this, especially online marketing, and even each brand launching their websites and communicating. They need to communicate with the customers, and there the problem arises because there is some misleading will occur. The proper, if a brand is not directly targeting getting the target audience, there will create misunderstandings, and at the same time there is a problem that the brand cannot communicate what exactly the products are coming up with. There's a communication main thing problem is there's a communication gap, and that's why they are using this tagline, and tagline option create a big impact on consumers, especially nowadays the few brands in India. There are few brands are capturing the market due to this tagline option. So now even big players also using this tagline option. And here our main objectives, here we are focusing on mainly three objectives. First, and predominant factors why consumers prefer a cosmetic brand, and at the same time what is the impact on this brand over a large audience, and their marketing and promotion strategies, how it influences the consumers. And here go through mainly few research papers. And these are a few research papers. If you look, it is internationally, it is conducted in South Africa, Sweden, and famous places. It is all focusing on green market. And this impact shows that the social media play a very vital role to communicate green market, and green revolution is mostly occur in social media, and that create a big impact on the consumers, and also consumers perceptions also changing. Consumers perception related to the cosmetic is purely based on the product quality and not on quantity. So based on the research papers, our research methodology states that we conducted both descriptive as well as analytical research, and we conducted convenient sampling method, and also the data were collected through questionnaire format. We spread our questionnaire all over Kerala, and through Google form, and expected sample size were up to 500 response, but we got up to 250, about more than 250. And we use technical tools such as SPSS, and the technical tools such as multivariant. We conducted factor analysis and also chi-square through cross tabulation. And here are the result outcome. From factor analysis, out of 20 variables, 3 factors were extracted. First factor says that result oriented and less side effect, and second factor discount and combo offer. Third factor government approval and ingredient list. This exactly shows what customers perception. If we look through the factors, it is clear cut that what current how the current players, especially the recent brands which were launched between 5 to 10 years, capture the market, is how they capture the market. At the same time, other brands who are ready to launch, and even the existing brand can also focus on these factors. And if the chi-square test as well as cross tabulation conducted in 3 criteria, the on a gender and education qualification, and also with the occupation. And at the same time, we conducted a three-way cross tabulation between male and female, and from the result shows that uh, male market is booming. Male perception towards cosmetics is also changing. There is a hope as well as there is a space for male market, but the problem is that they are in a flip nature. They are not showing that much brand loyalty as compared to women. So the brand should consider male in a. They need to come up with the techniques such as to attract male customers and also keep as a loyal customers. And at the same time, there is a drastic, as earlier in the introduction phase I told, there is a drastic change in cosmetic market. Also, there is a drastic change in male cosmetic market. Nowadays, the male also showing a positive attitude towards cosmetic as well as beauty care sectors. It's a positive attitude. The brand, if the brand find out in a right time and right place, they apply the marketing strategy, they can attract them too, because India is a large, if we talk about Indian market, there is the population is very high. If we focus on the youth itself, there is a huge market. So at the end of that, what are the main findings? We find out that the men's sector, the brand should focus on men's sector. And also there is a change that the people's quantity, usually we say that people focus earlier, the customers focus on quantity, but now the customers are more focused on quality and price. And at the same time, they also very much are aware of the ingredient what they are using, because earlier the marketing strategy using celebrities, and they can easily capture market. Now they need to educate, they need to know what actually in the product. And also there is a positive attitude towards them. And also there is a so many campaigns and advertisement strategies, changing advertisement strategies attract youth. And mainly these changes occur in the youth as well as middle age category. So it's a huge market. And at the same time, most of the customers are expecting more from the brand. And if we talk about the suggestion, as a researchers, we found that earlier the brand launched a product, especially for men as well as women. Men category is very niche market, so some brands are launching unisex product. Actually, if we consider, for example, toothpaste, Colgate in home, we use it as every family members use same Colgate as well as for their brushing purpose. Same way, some brands like if specifically define M Caffeine in India, they're launching unisex beauty care product. So in each Indian bathroom, their product can be used as all family members. So in Indian perspective, that will be a big impact. So if brand focusing on unisex product, it will solve the problem, as we discussed on the cross tabulation, three-way cross tabulation. Men having flip mentality. If a woman purchase a product, especially the women in Indian household purchase a product, that will use the entire family can use. So that change can impact very much in the cosmetic market. So that's our main first suggestion. Second is that please brand should focus the ingredients they are using. They need to be more clear, as well as they need to be there is no a barrier between consumers, because after COVID and pandemic, the people are very much health conscious. They are very much interested to know what exactly is the product. And even there is a cosmetic market for baby care sector. So it is also very niche, but there is a scope if they be with loyal to the customers. So these are the main features we as a suggestion we are suggesting to the brand. Our main challenges, but where one main challenge is COVID pandemic, and second is if we ask for asking different response, the respondents we getting based on the customers experience from different brands. So that may cause a biased response. These are the two main challenges we faced, and our references are Google Scholars. From Google Scholars, we took journals, and also so many websites returns also we referred. Thank you all.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation, Ms. Ansu Shirian and Dr. Amina. The floor is open for questions from the participants. Any questions to them?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, Hariharan.
What is the reason behind choosing only those 20 factors?
And so you want to take it or should I? Well, taking the 20 factors was surely based on literature review, sir. So it's based upon the recent researches that we have taken, extracted all the 20 factors that were relevant in the previous literatures. So all these previous studies showed that these factors were so much relevant and cannot be omitted by any chance. So we had to edit a few factors which is relevant for today's, post COVID times, and then we had to take a few from the previous literature. So all combined together, it's like the 20 relevant 20 relevant factors were considered for factor analysis for the study. So that's how we came across this 20 factors, in fact.
Thank you.
And if I'm not wrong, I've also shown in the literature review, from all these previous studies details wherein all these factors were extracted from. So we couldn't omit these researches at all, because in most of these studies, on a common basis, all these factors were repeatedly used. So we had to include this in our study.
Thank you, Amina ma'am. Any more questions to them? There is no question. So thank you so much. Now we have come to the end of this panel session. Now we are straight away moving to the valedictory session. Now I invite Dr. Marcus, Head and Assistant Professor, PG and Research, Department of Commerce, Loyola College, to address the gathering on the topic encapsulating the journey of innovative business practices of e-commerce world. Over to you, sir.
Very good morning. Thank you, Professor. And thanks to the coordinator for arranging a wonderful virtual 2 days conferences on this very comfortable and innovative topic, namely innovative practices of e-commerce in contemporary world 4.0. First of all, I want to appreciate the department as well the great coordination of the organizers in making this program a very comfortable one despite all the odds. 2 days international conference is getting complete today. This is not an end, but an initiation. The theme is full of vibrancy and is going to be a starting for the next long journey. Academia is not strange to the industry, because no industry is fulfilled without the staff of today passing the portals of the academic institution. Only based on getting formatted here with a blend of academic and industry, the staff of any industry are being seasoned or pruned, and Loyola is one of such institutions. I congratulate the department, the great coordination, and the organizers for keeping the tempo despite this pandemic situation. Before 2 years, when I started this sort of a virtual program, the punchword what was given by the management was, we are walking in the unknown path, full of dark, except some sort of technological backup. The infrastructure was rather strengthened. Innovation was rather fed in the minds of the staff members, and the students are very much supportive, and that made us to rather walk the journey of innovative in the academic, and slowly we are also trying to venture out how we could rather get best from the industry. The program is adorned with starring resource person. I could find everyone are glittering like the precious stones, and that will make things more better and glorious and as well as graceful. They shared the enthused topic, which needs a round of applause. Could we clap hand for everyone? Good. We also know change is only thing in the world that will not change. So also the innovation. We all know that the first invention of the mankind was the fire. The second, it was wheel. And now the third and the last invention of the mankind was finance or money. Now that finance or money breed various business and business modules. The recent variant of this is innovation. Like the virus, we are trying to find lots and lots of new things are coming into. We are in innovation. Every day you find at least 10 plus startups are coming into, and some of them are directly going for IPO. That shows the Z plus generation are more happy to welcome this testing of startups. Our institute is meant for formation, creating men and women for others. Loyola is not only preparing the men for tomorrow's world, as well as the social ambassadors for the future. All the Loyalists are put in the grain of making them to fit to be the societal men. So this sort of program will surely take the institution to the next height. Innovation is a process and the journey is long, and the staff are there to give hand-holding support to our students, and if the guidance of the industry as well. Our own great alumni was always standing as a backbone or the backdrop of any program of this order, will surely give the graceful and glorious support. Hope for best now and for the future. I thank first of all the management, as well the Department of BCom Honors. It is 4-year-old BCom Honors Department, and the director, Mr. Daniel Augustus, and the coordinator, Dr. Lima Rose, and the great organizers along with the students to make this program a great success. Wishing you all the best. Let's start the journey despite all the odds, because our job is to sail in the odds and make every challenge as an opportunity. All the best and wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Now I request Ms. Minoti, Assistant Professor, Department of BCom Honors, Loyola College, to introduce the chief guest for this valedictory session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our chief guest, Mr. Ashish Khaneja, is joining us from Singapore today. He's here today not just because of his rich experience of more than 25 years in software and technology with great companies like IBM and Oracle, but he's here today more for his commitment and passion in technology and innovation. He's currently an operating partner at Mac49 Asia and driving complex projects, positioning contemporary technologies and solutions comes naturally to him. That's the reason he's a co-founder of 2 startups, Zero Labs and Our Village. We are very proud to say he did his undergraduate in Loyola College and his MBA from the Indian Institute of Planning and Management. He specializes in managing technical teams for ERP, hybrid cloud, and middleware software products. Additionally, he's an active member of the Rotary Club Singapore and is very closely involved with the youth education activities. He's personally invested in driving a digital education initiative at a low-income girls' school in Punjab. Sir was very involved and enthusiastic right from the beginning when we asked him to be the chief guest for this conference. In fact, he was with us for all the panel discussions and inaugural session from yesterday, and he was one among the first ones to log in even today. We really appreciate your active involvement and participation, sir. It's very rare to find a chief guest who's so involved right from the beginning to the end. And we are really privileged to have you here today with us to deliver the valedictory address. I once again welcome you, sir, and request you to take over the session.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So it's still good morning to everyone. And I'm sure that you will all agree that these last 2 days have been a exhilarating and mind-opening treasure trove of excellent speakers, immersive conversations, and very innovative experiences. So it was really great to see the Loyola Bachelor of Commerce world meet the world of electronic commerce. From my perspective, hindsight is 20/20, and actually I've had the privilege of that hindsight over the last 2 days. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to attend this conference fully, to be able to know what is being covered and what actually has been left out as a part of the main topic. But before I get into that, I would be amiss if I don't congratulate the college, the leadership team, the BCom department, and especially the convener, coordinator, and assistant professor, Dr. Lima, and her competent team of members, including Assistant Professor Reena, Assistant Professor Dr. Irene, and Assistant Professor Minoti, for coming with such an engaging agenda and curating such a knowledgeable set of speakers, each of whom have honestly excelled in their understanding and knowledge of the subjects they have spoken on. It is my job now to pull this whole thing together and give all the students a more comprehensive, summarized version of where does e-commerce go in India and what are the educational opportunities that emerge from it. The fact of the matter is that e-commerce has changed the way business is conducted in India. The e-commerce segment in itself has been witnessing good growth over the last few years and has been showing no signs of slowing down. So the e-commerce industry in India has witnessed an uptick of 77% from 2020 to 2021. And it is the tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 cities which have been transacting more than ever. And with increasing internet penetration, e-commerce players are expecting new growth in tier 2, tier 3, and beyond, which will cumulatively contribute to about $150 billion of e-commerce revenue. And actually, the number of online shoppers has grown from 150 million to 190 million from the previous year. So the Indian market is expected to surpass the US to become the second largest e-commerce market in the world. But that will take a while. That will be by 2034. And it is poised to reach $100 billion by 2024. Honestly, before we get very excited about these numbers, I think it is important for us to get a sense of proportion and compare ourselves with the leading country, with the country which has led the e-commerce revolution. And that is China, which has had a similar journey over the past decade and is today the most mature e-commerce country in the world. Politics aside, it will greatly help us to understand the forces that have enabled China in their e-commerce journey and relate them to our Indian environment. The truth is that India has just touched the surface of e-commerce, and India is at an inflection point right now. And that is why, as commerce students, it will be greatly beneficial for you to join at this inflection point stage. Understand the kind of transformation that is going to happen in the next 10 years in India. And you also need to understand what shape it is taking and then participate and lead it as e-commerce and as e-commerce professionals. Getting back to my India example, in a relatively short span of time, China has transitioned themselves from a technological backwater to become one of the world's largest digital economies. And on the back of its base of nearly 1 billion internet users, China's e-commerce sales grew to $1.7 trillion in 2020. Yes, you heard me say that correctly. $1.7 trillion is the e-commerce revenues that have come from China in 2020. And that is essentially 12 times larger than India's current e-commerce market. And this $1.7 trillion e-commerce market constitutes only 30% of China's retail sales. So there is still a 70% retail, which is basically brick and mortar. But China's $1.7 trillion e-commerce market is not just a story about size. It is a story about a lot of innovation that has happened on the ground. It is a story of a lot of disruption of businesses that has happened in tier 2, tier 3 cities. There are real applications in omni-channel retail, integration of social media with e-commerce, a whole bunch of on-demand services that got created, how mobility got integrated with e-commerce, and fintech and health tech and such other domains which have enabled China to achieve a primal space in e-commerce. And actually the depth of their user base has supported their emergence to become the world's biggest e-commerce market. And today, China transacts 800 million payments, mobile payments a day. That's correct, 800 million mobile payments a day, which is about 8 times the size of the number of mobile payments being done in the US. The US is actually way behind on e-commerce. And that's why I mentioned India will take on US in a little while. But China has been doing 800 million mobile transactions a day. So let's look at some of the deep digital transformations that have happened. First, a deep digital consumer base and a vast pool of nearly 1 billion internet users that is larger than the US and European Union combined. Of these, more than 200 million are young users. They are digital natives who have grown up with computers and smartphones and the internet and are entirely comfortable trying out and trusting new technologies and applications. In India too, we are seeing a similar trend in regard to adoption of smartphone and the consumption of digital and data services. So India is not very behind as far as this trend is concerned. Secondly, intense pressure to quickly reach scale. Because of China's large population, similar to India, there is a dense congregation in about 100 cities with more than 1 million residents. So each one contains deep logistic networks that can be rapidly repurposed to serve new business offerings. This is an area where I believe a lot of work still needs to be done in India, because if you look at our tier 3 and tier 4 cities, they are still lacking in logistics networks. Though things are improving quite a bit, but there's still a long way to go. The third trend is essentially the digital ecosystem that fosters innovation. Beyond scale, China's emergence as the world's advanced digital economy is driven by digital ecosystems which are bolstered by market-moving internet players. So you have the creation of BAT, which is Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, which have become the digital champions of China. Here again, I think India has done very well because we have created our India stack and the basic digital infrastructure to enable payments, settlements, authentication, security, etc. are all already in place. So once we start scaling up, the basic infrastructure is already in place. And lastly, it is the shaping role of government. As much as market forces can claim responsibility for the success of China's digital economy, the government has played an essential role. Here again, the engine needs to work, and it seems to be working very effectively in India because the government is also closely involved, though regulatory aspects are still falling behind. And we are seeing the government getting more and more involved with this current budget as well. So it is important for us to look forward and build future, which is based on the experiences of the market leader. And looking forward, there are 8 forces that are shaping the e-commerce journeys of countries, including China, and should be for India. And I would like us to understand these forces. The first force is e-commerce, and omni-channel e-commerce is going to be a dominant force. Multi-channel approaches to customer fulfillment need to be done, and that is the only way fulfillment can be achieved. The second is social commerce. The integration of social commerce has had a remarkably strong affinity for individuals to become prime drivers of sales. The average consumer in China now spends more than 7 hours a day on mobile internet, a figure that increased by a fifth after COVID happened. About 2/3 of those 7 hours are spent using social or content applications as users seek out information from social media, from influencers, and from friends in order to make decisions about purchases. Remarkably, the time spent using social or content applications is now driving half of the shopping interest and 1/4 of the purchases. This is a very important trend where you get the integration of social media and e-commerce, and we can see the experience of China, where 1/4 of the purchases today are by virtue of that social integration, social media and e-commerce integration. So China's overall social commerce market is expected to more than double in size from 2019 and reach $500 billion in 2021. The next force is on-demand economy, where consumers are becoming more accustomed to online ordering via delivery apps. This trend seems to have picked up very well in India, with hyper-local delivery businesses cropping up in Tier 1 cities. We are still to see how this trend will pan out in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, but India seems to be really ahead in terms of hyper-local delivery. Force number 4 is shared mobility. Once populated by a myriad of hyper-competitive subscale startups, China's shared mobility space is rapidly consolidating into a handful of at-scale, well-financed players which are backed by major ecosystem players. In India, if we look at the startup revolution that is going on and the number of companies which have been valued at $1 billion, we know that India is maturing very well in terms of this startup community as well. Force number 5 is the familiarity with the desire and the need to connect business to business platforms with business to consumer platforms so that you have an end-to-end supply chain in place. So today there's a lot happening on the business to consumer applications and platforms. I think a lot still needs to happen on the business to business platforms getting created, and then the integration of B2B and B2B with B2C. The next trend is about fintech and the ability for payment engines to be able to process e-commerce transactions. And that, as I mentioned earlier, has been quite a leapfrog development in India's case, with a whole bunch of payment mechanisms now being available, including Google Pay and Phone Pay, etc. So I think India can scale when it comes to the payment processing capability. The next trend is edutech, and COVID has galvanized a lot of Indian edutech companies, which are again unicorns, and that should enable the proliferation of training for a lot of e-commerce learning that needs to happen in India through internet-based education. And the last is health tech, and health tech has had a major impact. All states in India have had to relook at the digital technology which is needed to be put in place to be able to monitor the COVID and to be able to monitor how individuals are handling the COVID in their various places. So it is important to understand the commercial and manufacturing implications that get impacted by this kind of an e-commerce growth, because not only is e-commerce at the front end, but there is a whole impact it has on Industry 4.0. And so e-commerce can spearhead Industry 4.0 maturity. With all of this technological advancement that are being driven by e-commerce, we need to understand their impact on the job market and the kind of skills that will be in great demand when all of you students pass out with your honors commerce degree. I would like to conclude my remarks by giving all the students an understanding of the immense and diverse job possibilities that the phenomenal growth of e-commerce will bring about. So I would like you to fasten your seatbelts and listen carefully. The fact is that e-commerce is helping India achieve a more inclusive growth by creating large-scale employment opportunities, enabling first-generation entrepreneurs, skilling youth, empowering women, and formalizing and integrating micro and small medium enterprises from tier 2, tier 3 cities and beyond in the national and global supply chain. And that is, in fact, one of the biggest transformation that has happened in the case of China as well, which is the small, medium, and micro enterprises becoming a part of a national supply chain because of e-commerce. What e-commerce does is it provides new opportunities for a new generation of digital entrepreneurs who are actually being forced to start their own business because of the kind of job losses that have happened during the pandemic. And the popularity of online shopping and the wider adoption of digital payments and increased use of social media, such as Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp, for marketing have given many entrepreneurs the option to trade from home without having to invest capital in renting a store or renting an office space. So in fact, India faces an elephant-sized problem, which is related to the workforce, of creating enough jobs for the 1 million people who join the workforce every month. We in India need a massive expansion of small enterprises in the private sector over the next decade to absorb this labor force. And e-commerce is motivating first-generation entrepreneurs to start and expand businesses, give the greater use of doing business and lesser investments in online compared to brick and mortar businesses. And unlike the requirements which are necessary to run a business from a physical building, e-commerce does not require storage space. It does not require infrastructure investment on part of the retailer. and the sellers are no longer limited to their geographical location and can sell their products across the country, including distant and new markets, without the need for any physical presence. Thus, in a way, it gives them access to a bigger customer base, which has a direct impact on their sales and their income, and also creates millions of blue-collar jobs. It is micro, small, and medium enterprises that can join the online marketplace of an e-commerce operator and can focus on products and not worry about distribution. And they can have these e-commerce platforms help them complete their logistics and payments and support to their sellers. E-commerce operators bring in great transparency, traceability, and real-time accounting, thereby ensuring a lot of tax compliance and minimal administrative cost. The other important trend, I think, which is very important, is women in workforce. There are more than 2 in 3 women in India who are not a part of the workforce. And as more and more women use internet and social media, social e-commerce platforms such as Meesho are enabling aspiring women entrepreneurs to start a home business with zero investment. And this is hugely empowering for women. The other very important thing is skilling and upward mobilization. It is estimated that more than 60% of the young people joining the workforce have not completed college. The skilling of these people through new edutech capability enables horizontal mobility and also enables vertical mobility, which will help them move up the career ladder. So in conclusion, I would like to say that e-commerce is going to be a game changer for India. It is going to be a major transformer of India's economy. And all of you equipped with a B-commerce degree, you need to be a keen observer of the e-commerce world that is unfolding in front of your eyes. You need to pivot on a couple of areas that align with your core strengths, because the fact is that barriers to entry in e-commerce space are fairly low, and experimentation is a lot less risky and very, very affordable. In conclusion, I would like to say that I hope this virtual event has opened your mind to these emerging opportunities. And as a call to action, I would like to suggest the formation of an online social community with the B-commerce students and the speakers of this event, so that a community-based dialogue and mentoring can be initiated. This is only suggested if the B-commerce students want to make use of such a community and are proactive enough to ask their faculty to create such a community, which should ideally be run by the students. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I look forward to the success of all the commerce students in this e-commerce journey.
There is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. I'm sure our students will understand the importance of e-commerce and the enormous opportunities available in front of them and use it strategically for a successful career. Thank you, Mr. Ashish Khaneja, for your enlightening and informative speech. Believe in yourself and anything is possible. Now I call upon Dr. Lima Rose, Convener, Coordinator, Department of BCom Honors, to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Professor Reena. Good afternoon to all. We have successfully traveled through the 2 days of our conference, and now it's time for us to wind up our conference. It's my privilege to extend my thanks
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. You're on unmute, ma'am.
someone has unmuted. Good afternoon to all. We have successfully traveled through the 2 days of our conference, and now it's time for us to wind up our conference. It's my privilege to extend my thanks and gratitude to all those who have been associated with our conference. First and foremost, I thank the Lord Almighty for having led us throughout our endeavors. I place on record our sincere thanks to our patrons, Reverend Dr. Francis Xavier, Rector, Reverend Dr. Selvanayagam, Secretary, Reverend Dr. Thomas, Principal, and Dr. Melchias Gabriel, Deputy Principal, for having extended their fullest support and guidance to us, without which our conference would have been a distant dream. I thank you all on behalf of the Department of BCom Honors and on my personal behalf for all the strength and confidence bestowed on us. It was your inspiration and motivation that has helped us in organizing this conference successfully. Now, I thank our distinguished chief guest, Ms. Isabella, MD, Repco Bank, and Mr. Ashish, operating partner at Mac 49 Asia, respected moderators, Dr. Xavier Raj, Dr. Sudalai Muthu, and Dr. Francis Jose, and distinguished panel members for having accepted our invitation and come forward to join us besides their busy schedule. I thank you all for your fullest support, and I'm happy to say that your association with us made us feel that we are all one family working together for the success of the conference. Thank you so much, sirs and madam, for having given your best for our conference, and request that in future also we will have the privilege of having you all on board as our distinguished dignitaries in our future endeavors. I also take this opportunity to thank Mr. Masi, convener, Loyola Alumni International, who has been so helpful and supportive in helping us to find the most appropriate panel members and being one among us in organizing this conference. Thank you, sir. And we expect your continued support and guidance in future too. Now I thank Dr. Marcus, Head, Department of Commerce, Loyola College, and Dr. Arul Suresh, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Loyola College, for extending their selfless support and guidance in organizing this event. It is not for our department alone, but it is a combined effort of all the stakeholders, including the WebPro and OMR team, for the technical assistance and support and uninterrupted live streaming of our conference. I also extend my gratitude to Dr. Pathiban, Librarian, Central Library, Loyola College, for his support in finalizing the papers to be published in the special edition. I extend my gratitude Mr. Daniel Augustus, Director, LIAC, for his support. It would be incomplete if I don't thank my colleagues, Professor Minoti, Dr. Jerisha, and Professor Reena, who has been the pillars of support with their wholehearted involvement right from the concept to the completion of the conference. It was in fact a great challenge for the four of us to organize a conference of this magnitude. I thank each one of them from the bottom of my heart for making themselves available 24/7 to work for this conference. We have once again established that teamwork works. Thank you, my dear colleagues, for your support and involvement. We did not face the crunch of helping hands as Mr. Nagamani, Assistant Professor, Department of BCom Accounting and Finance, and Ms. Sneha Priya, Assistant Professor from Department of BCom Computer Applications, came forward extending their support and joined us in organizing the conference. I should also thank the administrative staff, Ms. Jesper Daisy and Mr. Alistair, and office staff, Mr. Dayalan from LIAC, for the support. I thank the participants for the overwhelming response and active participation in this conference, making it a grand success. Last but not least, I thank the students who have extended the support to us in their best way, with special reference to Mr. Harish Govind and Mr. Venkat Rajan, Department of BCom Honors. I believe that I honestly thank and extended my gratitude to everyone who have been associated with this conference. And if I have inadvertently missed out any name, it was not intentional. I place on record my fullest gratitude to all those whose name I have not mentioned in person, but had been a part of our team. I thank you one and all again. The registered participants will get their certificates and publications shortly. Thank you. Thank you all.
Students, please fill the feedback form, which is posted in the chat box.
Mute pannu.
Recording stopped.